Welcome in to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Right here, every single day. Hit that like, share, comment button. And remember our friends over at Go Chevrolet, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. They got a brand new car lot down in Laplace and used car lot over here in Baton Rouge, Florida Boulevard, and Sherwood Forest. Good Monday morning to you here from the Jordy Culotta Show. The Carpool Queen is in. We will be here for 2 hours. Lloyd is here and Noah is here until 9 a.m. this morning. We'll be talking everything LSU spring football. Tigers sweep over at the box. The Pelicans split games 3 and 4. We'll talk about last night as Chris Paul went Chris Paul on Friday night, but last night he was locked up and looked as rattled as I've seen Chris Paul over the last. I mean, I don't watch Phoenix Suns, but I mean, if you've paid attention to NBA basketball over the last decade, you've watched a lot of Chris Paul because he's been one of the top players in the league during that time, and I have never seen him as rattled as he was last night. I mean, they were in his head. I mean, both of them, Herb Jones and
Alvarado.
How long do you call him Herb?
I know. Yes, that was the part where I was like, he's out of it. He's losing it. And even Alvarado, who tried to get him in game 1 on his kind of patented come from the corner, kind of picking from the back, a great AAU move. I mean,
I'm obsessed with that guy.
It is
Alvarado.
a great AAU move. And he got him on it last night. I mean, like Paul in game 1 kind of looked at him and was like, "You think you're gonna get me, bro, in this? You think I'm gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe?" And he got him on it last night. It was a little bit of an insight of just where Paul's head was last night. But yes, I mean, the two rookies outside of Brandon Ingram. Ingram is, I mean, he's a bona fide superstar. I mean, he has announced himself to the NBA as a legitimate face of the league. He is one of the faces of the league, in my opinion, and through this playoff run is making an incredible jump for his Q rating.
I think we're watching it happen now. This is his star turn. It feels like this is the time when Brennan Ingram is becoming the player the Pelicans thought they drafted. Well,
just ask Jack.
Lakers thought they drafted. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just his defensively last night, more than even offensively. I mean, that to me, I think you've always known that even when you picked up Brandon Ingram in the trade, you knew he was this special offensive player. He was almost like a Kevin Durant 2.0, you know what I mean? Which, by the way, Durant is...
he's in a box.
I mean, they have figured out the cheat code on Durant up in Boston, man. It's the Brooklyn Nets feel like a soap opera. Ben Simmons out, game 4. Stephen A. Smith blasts him, calling him a quitter both at LSU for the Philadelphia 76ers and now for the Brooklyn Nets. Ton to get to in the NBA, but we will talk about LSU spring football to start it off. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button as we start off here on this Monday morning. Remember, we're brought to you by True Blue Water, our friends over at True Blue Water, TRU, bluewater.com. We're going through about 5 gallons a week over here at the new studio. We are putting a 5-gallon drum every Monday. We're refilling.
And like 3 cases of bottles.
Yes,
too.
I mean we are going through True Blue. We're living off of True Blue Water. Our friends over there. If you want to get on the delivery route, you can. TRUBluewater.com. Also, Papa Earl's Spices, 30% less sodium than the competition. Make sure and pick up your Papa Earl's Spice today wherever you shop locally. And our phone line is brought to you by our friends over at Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. Stop in and see Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, and the crew over there at Metropolitan Health Group. We will talk to Billy Embody coming up at 8 a.m. this morning. Jack Besh is coming through the studio at some point here this morning. I think we're going to move him to Matuk Show coming up at noon. He was supposed to come through here about 10:30, but with the set being flipped over for Matuk Show, see if we can't get him lined up with Mikey at some point today for them to have a sit-down. And then Jay Johnson's going to be with Mikey at 11 a.m. this morning. Coach Johnson and the crew sweep Missouri over the weekend and look pretty good doing it. We'll talk some baseball, but if you're looking for some in-depth talk on LSU baseball, make sure you're tuned in to Mikey's show, 11 a.m. with Mic'd Up coming your way. Jay Johnson will be a part of that to lead you off here on this Monday. LSU spring football. We went into it with a lot of questions at a lot of positions, and one of them I thought was firmed up. Brian Kelly, I know, said after the spring scrimmage, on Saturday that they did not learn anything about the quarterback. If they were looking for some answers out of the quarterback, they had confused a little bit more. In fact, the quote from Kelly read like this: "We didn't clear up anything with the quarterback today. We probably made it even more difficult." And I got to be honest, I'm not here to debate Coach Kelly. He knows his team a lot better than I do. I've only seen him from the peripheral, from 30 minutes of practice probably combined all spring up close. I've seen a lot of video highlights, and I saw the spring game on Saturday. To me, it was clear. It really was. I thought that it was clear that Garrett Nussmeier is the best quarterback on this team. And it's not because I was, kind of tabbed him as the starter a couple of weeks ago, saying if you wanted a starter and you wanted one from the Jordy Culotta show, fine, we're going to ride with Garrett Nussmeier. And then I turned the game on Saturday and watch how easy Nussmeier plays the position, how comfortable he looks out there, and quite frankly, some of the throws that he made. That wheel route he threw to Josh Williams, I thought, in the south end zone was as good as, or in the north end zone was as good of a throw that we've seen all day. He put one into a bucket to Malik Neighbors on a fade route in the north end zone that Neighbors kind of ran underneath and took out of double coverage. And then he threw a touchdown pass on the run as he was rolling out that I thought was very impressive. Who was that, to Besh?
Yeah, he hit Besh.
Yeah, he hit Besh, who was, Besh was kind of floating and running across or to the back pylon, and Nussmeier on the run just kind of dropped it right to him on a multiple read route. And look, that's not to take away from anything that Jaden Daniels and Miles Brennan did on the day, because I thought that they did some good things. And Daniels, I thought, looks very explosive as a runner. He looks very electric in the sense of when things break down, he'll probably pick you up some big plays. Now, SEC schedule, much different than the Pac-12 schedule he's been playing the past couple of years, and I think he'll learn very early on that you've got to pick your spots where you run in this league if you're going to be a starting quarterback, right? I mean, if you're going to play every down and you're going to be counted on to be, game planned for both from your side offensively, you got to keep yourself healthy, and running around in this league is not the formula, not the recipe to get that done. I thought Brennan threw the ball pretty well all day, but there were times where you see the pocket break down behind, and this is my concern about the quarterback on the 2022 edition of the LSU football team. Maybe in different years, different guys can fit better in certain situations, right? But for the 2022 edition of LSU football, I think that Garrett Nussmeier is the clear-cut best decision to play quarterback because he's got the combination of arm strength, accuracy, which his accuracy looks like it's improved tremendously. And he also has the athleticism to keep plays alive and make plays with his feet, which the quarterback at LSU in 2022 is going to have to do because that offensive line is just shoddy, right? I mean, it had some high points on Saturday. I thought you saw some things from some individuals that jumped out. I thought Xavier Hill had a really good spring game. I think Xavier Hill's coming out of spring as a guy that has to feel pretty confident about his ability to play early on next year. I don't even know who the top 5 is going to be because I'm waiting to see who gets here in summer, right? But I think that, for the most part, the guys that you saw out there on Saturday are going to be at the top of the competition to play next fall. Emory Jones, I think, will have a little bit to say about it when he gets in here in the summertime to make a run at some playing time. Will Campbell, for for those of you that haven't seen him during spring practice up close, getting to see him on Saturday, I thought that he had some bright spots. They had some one-on-ones with him and Allie Gay where, I mean, that's an 18-year-old battling with a 22-year-old man on the outside. And, look, Gay pushed him around a little, but there were some times where you could see that Gay was stood straight up. And if Campbell can handle the likes of Allie Gay and B.J. Ojolari and the guys that they're throwing at him every single day, by the way, I thought Quincy looked great. Quincy looks great in a uni. But for where LSU is in the 2022 edition, and we'll just start it there at the quarterback race, I thought Nussmeier was I thought Nussmeier was it. And I wasn't drunk on my own takes. Like, I wanted to go in there sensing like, hey, man, I'm open to watching this thing and coming away with a clear evaluation of just who plays the position better. And it's probably unfair to grade Daniels on it yet because he probably didn't even know where his classes are.
Yeah, not only that, that's just the style of game isn't suited for spring.
Yeah, and it's not a spring because you can't touch the quarterback.
Right.
You can't tackle the quarterback. You can't get after him. So, I mean, he's going to make some plays, I think, that are unseen on a spring practice field, right? You put him under the lights and you say, wow, look at Five. Five's got some juice. But as far as just like the manager of the position and the guy that gives the 2022 LSU football team the best chance to win, I thought it was.
It's not just you. I think it is Nussmeier because you talk about who gives you say best chance to win. You sprinkle every little thing that you want at the quarterback position in college football. He has mobility. He has the arm strength. He has what now seems to be the most important part is he looks comfortable out there. Because when you go back and you watch the Arkansas game, he looked like he was, he looked lost because there was no real offensive game plan. He was out there just trying to be an athlete. When you saw him sit in the pocket and play the way he did in the spring game, which I know it's a spring game, but I think that's what stood out the most to me was Nussmeier looked the most comfortable, and they looked the most comfortable with him on the skill position side of it. It doesn't seem like it's that much of a competition until you're able to see what Jaden Daniels can do in a full game set.
Yeah. Patrick Dorsey, just getting in. Let me guess. Jordy says Nuss is the guy. You are right, Dorsey. Who's your guy, Patrick? Who did you watch on Saturday?
We'll put it on the poll.
Yes. Tell me, am I seeing, can I not see through the forest here? I was trying to step away from it and say, wow, no, what'd you see? You were there on Saturday. What'd you see from the quarterback spot?
Nussmeier looked the most comfortable. And the thing about him that stood out to me was, he looked great on the field, but then, there's a time he comes off of the field and he's on the sideline and he's got his helmet off, sets it down. He goes down to his offensive lineman and he's like talking to him and dapping him out. And you can just see the energy around him, like on the team. It just feels different than it does for any of the other
feels like the starter.
3 guys. Yeah, he
carries like himself as a starter.
He feels like he has that kind of swagger that you want from your starting quarterback. And I think that the game didn't make it really much easier, like Brian Kelly said, because I think all the quarterbacks performed well. And so I just think the quarterback that looked the best was Garrett Nussmeier.
How much stock do you put into the spring? Obviously
not a lot, but
in Baton Rouge.
But I do put stock into the quarterback race in spring. I think that you have to evaluate that position. I think positions are wide open going into the summer at LSU football. I'm telling you, like the majority of the spots feel like they're open on offense. Defensively, they're salty.
Yeah,
they're good defensively. Like they're going to be a problem defensively. That defensive line, that front seven, really. I thought Greg Penn is going to be a stud.
Open some eyes.
I agree. I think that Greg Penn is going to bust out. I thought Mike Jones played well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he's going to be a guy that you can count on. He's going to know where everybody needs to line up. Now, defensively in the backfield, I think that there are some causes for concern, especially on the outside at cornerback. Jordan Tolles looked very uncomfortable there. I'd imagine that they would shift him back to safety at some point. You see,
and he said he's banged up,
and have to wait what happened with 7 banks. Yeah, and look, Tolles is kind of he's been up and down, and I think that asking him to switch a position at this point in his career is it's not unfair to the program, but it's a little unfair to the player. You know what I mean? Like he's done a lot of things, he's played a lot of spots, and you would hope at this point for his sake that he could be in a comfortable role. I thought Derek Davis looked really good at safety.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought that Davis is a guy that continues to get better, and if he can give you some quality reps at that position, I think that would kind of be a little bit of house money. You know what I mean? If you could get him to step in and play at a higher level this season and take some of those reps. I think Matthew Langlois still got some weight to gain.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think he'll look back on this spring game, and that's fine. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where he's supposed to be, but one thing about him was he didn't get out of the mix. He was always kind of around it, whether he was getting run over or not. Right. You know what I mean? Like he was around the ball.
Head in there.
Yeah, he's put his head in there.
And I think one more that could hopefully break out. You saw Sage Ryan almost make probably one of the plays of the game with the one-handed pick. Turns into a touchdown on the other end from Malik Neighbors. But having him even show flashes is nice, just to have him out there because he's a 5-star safety. That is part of what you expect to see at LSU. He just hasn't had his real moment yet. He's kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit last year with everything that went on personally and health-wise. So to see him out there, see him, moving around, making some plays, he's probably a guy that you'll see a good bit of when it comes Florida State time.
Yeah.
And a guy that you have to have.
What about poor Miles Brennan? What's going to happen to him?
I thought here's.
Can you get faster in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
No.
And look, I think that Brian Kelly is really playing politics in the media in the sense of he's got to kind of massage all these guys and keep them comfortable or keep them believing that they all have a chance to get a spot here as a starter, because you don't want to be in the predicament that you were 6 months ago where you're a snap away of looking at Walker Howard. By the way, Walker Howard future's really bright.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 14 is a playa, but you don't want to put him on the field in the next calendar year, right? You don't want to look at Walker Howard and, go all Jarrett Lee, go all Brandon Harris. Go all, hey, true freshman, get in there and save our season. Go win your first game and first start on the road.
That Jordan Hare.
I mean, just that's not what you want. That's not how you want to roll this thing out, right? But Walker Howard, it definitely looks like the future is extremely bright, and if they can manage this quarterback position through the next year, the competition between Nussmeier and Howard, I think, is going to be fascinating into the next couple of seasons.
So do you think Brennan is still going to start the first game or no?
I do not. I do believe that Brian Kelly is in the business of winning football games. He is not in the business of playing politics for his football program. Right now, he's got to play a little politics for his football program to win games. Ultimately, the goal is still to win as many games as he can in year one, and for him to win as many games, I'd imagine that he believes he needs 3 quarterbacks that he can look at and say, "Hey, I can count on you to win." And I don't want to count on the freshman yet. So to play the politics, I think you get out and look, I'm contradicting what I said last week of Brian Kelly not playing games in the media. I do believe that when he was praising Garrett Nussmeier 2 Saturdays ago, that was legit. I do believe that. But then when he gets to the podium on Saturday and says, we didn't clear anything up in the quarterback race, you sure? I get what you're doing. I get what you're saying. And you want everybody to kind of feel confident going into the summer and make sure that one of these guys doesn't look at it and say, hey, man, you know what? I'm outside looking in again, so I'm hitting the transfer portal. And he'd be in a predicament. He'd be in a spot. He'd be in a bind. He'd be another snap away from a true freshman being a backup, and then he's a snap away from a true freshman being in the game as a starter. And that's what they're trying to prevent.
With the same guy all over again. It was Miles Brennan last year. Same
Yeah.
thing.
No, Brennan's played this role numerous times. He's played this a couple of times. And for Miles Brennan, the player and the person, I hate it.
I know.
I hate that this could be his experience at LSU, because the guy loves the place. Loves the place. And from that standpoint, you appreciate that. And you would love to see him succeed, right? But when it comes down to winning football games, and the coach that's making $10 million a year that's tasked with that in his first season, and to me, which means zero, but just a guy watching the game who's got some interest and a little bit of know of football, number 13 looks like the best guy, and to me, it doesn't even look close. It really doesn't. I mean, I know that there are some things on Jaden Daniels' evaluation that's unfair up to this point, and maybe when fall camp opens up and the quarterback's live for a scrimmage or two, that they can figure out if he gives them the best chance to win every single down of every game. Or maybe they build him a package where they put him in there once or twice a half to just change the pace of the game.
Well, you saw Brian Kelly's thoughts on the 2 quarterback system,
I
where
did.
he said nightmare.
Well,
Absolute
I mean, his
nightmare.
Forget his words.
His
body
yes,
language.
Yes.
His body language in reaction when he was asked about that. I mean, he put his head down into his hands it's the last thing that I would want to do.
But doesn't that tell you that it's been on his mind that it could be an option?
It could be. And look, is a 2 quarterback system one that you build a series in for a quarterback every half? Don't you have your guy, but you say, hey, let's change the pace up of the game a little bit and throw him in there. I mean, there have been successful packages built like that. The most notable that I think we can all relate to, or at least kind of call back on for the LSU fan who's been watching for a decade or more, would be the Ryan Perrilloux, Matt Flynn package, where they have similar styles, where I think Jaden Daniels can throw the ball probably as good as Nussmeier can in a clean pocket, but they've got similar skill sets, but they do some things that one can't necessarily do as good as the other, right? And Daniels could probably change the pace of the game, throw a lot of defensive coordinators off pace if he was just kind of brought in a situation where you're like, oh, shit, we're not ready for this.
Best case scenario is Matt Flynn, Ryan Perrilloux. Worst case scenario is Kyle Trask, Emory Jones, right?
Sure.
Whatever you saw.
Sure.
Florida kind of had that 2019 LSU team on the ropes a little bit. Kyle Trask, driving them down the field. Florida tries to change the pace up, bringing Emory Jones. They stall in the red zone, and it just seems to be, it's not worth the headache that it brings on. It's not worth the endeavor in my mind to be able to. It's great to have in your back pocket something, because Jaden Daniels is a game breaker. He can take 180. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier can pull a quarterback choice and go 80 yards. Jaden Daniels could, and that's what you have to weigh out in your mind if this is worth the headache that you bring in. Because almost if you're going to do it that way, then wouldn't it be Miles Brennan, Jaden Daniels? Because they're the two polar opposite skill sets.
Yeah, and I thought Daniels on a couple of instances where you can't get a real. He can go. Like, he made his mind up a couple of times to get outside the pocket, and whether live or not live, he wasn't getting touched.
Right.
Now, on the touchdown run down to goal line, alley gag, I mean, he was like, dude, come on. I mean, we were told that we're not even reading you. You know what I mean? Like,
if I
we
play
just
this
reading
the right way,
guy.
I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could kill you right
Put my
now,
helmet in your chest.
but it's not worth it.
Right.
But I did think that there were some instances that you saw where you were like, oh, wow, like, it doesn't matter.
He's got
They're
juice.
not catching him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna make a play.
So we've pushed Miles Brennan totally out, basically.
I have,
have?
and probably unfairly.
What options does he have at this point then? Can he go back into the portal? Is he done with that?
I'd imagine that he could get into the portal and probably receive a waiver that would make him eligible for the transfer.
How many waivers has he collected?
Would, though, at this point?
I don't know that. I don't know whether he, but I got to imagine that it's on the table. It's consideration.
How do you think that? What was the conversation like between he and Brian Kelly in order to get him back to LSU? Do you think it was, you're my guy, or I'll give you a chance to be the guy? Because if it was
you're my guy, right?
That's what I would think, to get him back and stay whenever he could go. He could go to a handful of places and start immediately.
Right.
I mean, he's not broken. He's just not what you look for in 2022 college football.
Right.
I do believe that Kelly at the time was desperate. I mean, think about when Miles Brennan committed to LSU. Recommitted to LSU. I mean, LSU was in a...
Hell, we would have played him in the bowl game if you could.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And so I do believe that there were some...
Handshake.
I can't imagine that Kelly is going to promise anything in year one knowing that you've got the security. Like, unless you come in here and, like, go for Ofer and get blown out every game, I mean, they're riding with you. They're with you. So... yeah, do you need Miles Brennan? Yeah, you need Miles Brennan. And especially when he was talking to him and recruiting him, you had to have Miles Brennan.
I know, but now
do
you need him?
Now, I think even knowing in talking to Brennan at that time, I think he knew we're making plays at more quarterbacks.
Right.
Right? Like, we're going after other quarterbacks. And I can't imagine that he wasn't up front with Brennan on that. I can't imagine that he didn't say to him, hey, look, we really need you. And when you come back, if you commit back, you're going to be, kind of penciled in as the guy going into the competition. But we're not through shopping. We're not through looking. We are looking to fill this roster, and we need as many good players at as many,
especially at that spot.
At that spot, man. I mean, so
he's the ex that we're just stringing along.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Man, it's so awkward.
Kind of.
For him.
But honestly, what's the win total difference in your mind between Nussmeier and Miles Brennan?
2 games.
And 2.
I think that Nussmeier, I mean, you're evaluating the player that touches the ball every play.
Right.
You're evaluating the player that is probably carrying as strong as a voice as anyone on the team. Definitely a presence. And all three of those attributes that you're looking for, I thought that Nussmeier clearly checked all three boxes on Saturday. To me, when I leave watching LSU football, I don't leave saying that Brennan and Daniel suck. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I leave saying that you can win a college football game, even at an SEC level, with all three of these guys. But if you want the best one, to me, it's clearly cut that 13's better than the other two guys. Doesn't mean that the other two suck, and it doesn't mean the other two can't win football games at this level. It just means that 13 gives you the best chance to win. And I think when you evaluate it in that sense, it's very easy. Like, you know, I mean, I understand that some people might see it other ways, but I thought when Nussmeier, not only the way that he handled the offense, like he made some, and look, early on, he got his first drive, he got sacked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He stood in there, he got tapped from the back from, I believe it was Gay.
Yeah, the defense.
They got him, and they were flying early on.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And that's one of the reasons that you kind of want him back there, because you have to cover up some of the deficiencies, and you saw what one of them was, and it is the offensive line. Like, you hope that Emory Jones can solve some of these problems, but I know they're going against a very good LSU defensive line, but if there was a takeaway as to what kind of would scare you the most about LSU football, it would be the offensive line. So you feel like you have to cover up that issue, you want somebody with mobility. Like, in a perfect world, you give Miles Brennan, 5 great offensive linemen and give him 5 seconds to stand back there, he's the pick.
Yeah.
But that's not what LSU has in the deck right now.
Yeah.
How much weight really goes into the spring game, though?
Oh, did he gain?
I never watched them. What?
What? You're talking about Miles.
No, the spring game. I never watched spring games, but like, really, is it not just like a bigger practice? Like,
Yeah, it's a lot like, I mean, it's a lot like the Senior Bowl, right? Where the Senior Bowl, the game doesn't mean as much as the week of practices leading up to it. I think for the coaching staff, they've pretty much got their evaluation and their analysis concretely built, from up to this point. Like, they've learned just about everything that they need to learn about every player at every position coming out of spring. On Saturday, they probably didn't learn a lot about their team. I think for the spring game, it gives people like us, talking heads, the fans, something to really kind of chew on and talk about for the next couple of months until they get into summer camp, fall camp, until this thing kind of really starts to heat up. And so I don't know. There's, in my opinion, there's zero stock put into a spring game by the coaches. A lot of the stock is put in it to, people like us and the fan base. But I think it does give you a true evaluation of where the competition is now, right? And I don't think that that's any different. Look, the reason why I was so steadfast on Nussmeier winning the competition a couple of weeks ago, because it was just what I saw on the practice field. And again, it was snippets, it was windows, it was very brief moments of watching this team practice. And one thing that you took away was it's just that 13 looks very comfortable, in control, and capable out there. And again, it's not to diminish the other two, because I think at this level, you've got to have multiple arms. Because at some point, you're going to have to call on that. The game's too physical. The game's too brutal at that position in particular, especially behind an offensive line that's got question marks on whether they can protect or not. In keeping that spot physically able all season long that's a tough task. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow, from just a availability standpoint, doesn't come around a lot. Forget his playing capability. The fact that he was available every week was just amazing for how just physical the game is, man. So I think at some point you're going to need the other guy. And, that's a story that, I think could work out for Brennan, right? I mean, I know that this is the same old song and dance for you right now. You know what I mean? And it kind of feels like you're getting fitted for the bridesmaid dress again. But there is a scenario that if you're patient and if you hold in, man, you buy in and you keep, you stay involved, you might get a shot. Now, if you don't, look, I mean, who knows how the story ends. But I think that we all forget Brennan's got 2 more years, which is nuts.
Yeah, I do always forget that.
How old is he?
I don't know how old he is, but he feels like he's 30.
He could be 35 by the time
Right?
he gets out of here.
But he's got 2 more years to play.
These are all scholarship years.
Well, I
That's
think he got the COVID
It's
year.
incredible.
You know? I mean, you got the medical red shirt. You got the true
He's
red
23.
shirt.
So it'll be 20. He could leave at 25.
He could leave at 25. Good for him.
Good for him.
Good for
Von
him.
Rosenberg is
Yes.
breathing down your neck.
All right, get some of your comments here. But remember, Daily, we are brought to you by City Cafe. Was over at City Cafe yesterday. Great crawfish over at City Cafe. O'Neal and George O'Neal. We went after Little Jay had a basketball tournament out in Denham Springs yesterday. So on our way in,
Another
we got
trophy
off on,
for the UDL.
Yeah, another trophy for the UDL. We got off at O'Neal, went right in. Man, 6 o'clock, still packed from the weekend over at City Cafe. Great service, as always. They had crawfish. We got a dozen raw oysters. They were fantastic. Remember, they had their Sunday brunch that opens up at 10 a.m., and then they have their lunch specials that are available every single day over at City Cafe. CityCafeBR.net is where you find them online. CityCafeBR.net is where you find them online. John Quav, Cole Taylor looked pretty good, too, on Saturday. They need a tight end to step up for sure in that position. Brandon Hollingsworth, I watched approximately 0 of the spring game because it's irrelevant and never matters.
Whoa.
JP, if Nuss wins the job, Walker will enter the transfer portal next year. I disagree with that. I really think that Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier is going to be some really good competition over the next couple of years. Rico Delgado, the
Never
short
heard of
man.
him.
Kelly has a bad offensive line. He needs running backs. He needs quarterbacks that can play in case of injury. He's going to do whatever he can to keep them around. Finally, Rico, we agree. George the Greek, keep in mind, Jordy, they lined up against base defense all game. Brennan, with his experience, may be much better at setting the line. Good point.
That is what I think could be the separator when you talk about does he start the first game or not. We've seen Nussmeier once. Like, you forget that there hasn't really been any live bullets yet. He looks good in practice. Looks good in a practice setting in the spring game, which was as live as it gets or as close as you can get to live action. But Miles Brennan, for as long as he's been here, he still has, I guess, the most reps, even though he doesn't really have them either.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't played as many, just because he's been here a while doesn't mean he's played that long.
Brennan Hollingsworth, from all accounts, Brennan has looked like the clear-cut leader throughout spring practice. I'm not worried about the spring game. Brennan, I'm wondering where those reports are coming from. I saw some of those reports last week that it was very evident and clear that Miles Brennan was being reported as the leader inside of LSU's practice. We have talked to some very trusted sources inside of the program, people that are very well connected and out there every day. That seems to not be the case. I mean, really. I mean, I am talking to people that are seeing this competition each and every day, both from the meeting room and from the on the field standpoint. And I asked them about the report that came out last week from Miles Brennan. I believe somebody reported that a pro scout said that Brennan was the clear-cut leader of watching practice. And when I asked them about that, they were saying, I don't know what pro team told anyone that, because that does not seem, there has not been, I don't think, every day this clear-cut winner. I think that every day, people are making plays. But I do judge by what Brian Kelly said about his quarterback a couple of weeks back, about what he said about Nussmeier. I don't think that stuff was fake. I mean, if he was trying to motivate the other two guys, okay. But, I did see what he said Saturday, and it doesn't seem like he believes that they found any answers. I think that he's playing a little politics there, because I think if you just turn that game on and you watch, your eyeballs have to tell you that, look, that guy looks a little bit more comfortable than the other guys. Is he the starter? No, you can't name him that today.
How much do you think that, we talked a little bit about this in our pre-production meeting, that just the overall loyalty of LSU, like the fan base feels like they're almost pulling for Miles Brennan and like almost blind to it a little bit because they just want to see him succeed for once.
Say it again.
How much do you think the fan base being a little bit almost loyal just to Miles Brennan, just to see him get the opportunity?
Well, I think that there is
blinding them a little bit.
I think the human element of Miles Brennan is tough to overcome. Right? Like, I mean, I think that there's a lot of the fan base that think of Miles Brennan as a brother, a friend, a son. You know what I mean? Like, where you're like, this can't happen again, can it?
Just give him
the
job.
Jesus, just let him play.
Right.
I mean, he's been paying his dues for so many years. Just let the guy get out there. But, I think that we, in that vain, lose thought that there are people's lives on the line in winning and losing football games. Now, Brian Kelly has extreme job security here at this point of his, his life as the LSU football coach. He's got a 10-year contract with the majority of it guaranteed, right? So, I mean, like, outside of, doing some Les Miles and Ed Ogeron stuff combined, you know what I mean? He's going to be safe over the next 365 days. So, I mean, he could probably get away with playing that card. But at the end of it, he's trying to win as many games as he can, So I don't. It's
a slippery slope, because if you go down that path and start Myles Brennan, he plays well for the majority of the year, and then he comes back next year, you're certainly losing Nussmeier. Then it sets up better for Walker Howard in the future. But if you give Myles Brennan the keys of the kingdom, there's a chance he might not give them back, and you don't know if it's good or bad. It could be 8-9 wins, and it leaves a lot of people wondering, well, what if with Nussmeier, because he would be gone, I would imagine. And that's why I wonder what's the upside, because even if you did give him the keys for 1 year, LSU fans would probably have enough of him after a year and be like, all right, I want to see the next guy. They just want to see him for a little bit.
I think half
just
of
to give him a
half of the fan
chance.
base has already had enough, right? Like, there is that camp out there that's had enough.
I don't know.
Brennan.
I don't think so. They all want to see him play.
He left you with this taste of, wow. I mean, like, do you get this? I mean, who did I see? Hughes Bowden said, I think watching Brennan average almost 400 yards a game is hard to overcome for me as a fan. But, yeah, in those games that he was averaging that, LSU was 1-2.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, it's like, you want to throw for 400 in the loss?
Well, a lot of that's on the defense. They were terrible.
True, but I mean, he was a starter. You know what I mean? It's on his record, and I get you. And look, I don't want this to turn into the conversation of Myles Brennan can't play. Myles Brennan can play, and in a lot of places, he deserves to play. I just think when you look at the quarterback position right now at LSU, is he the best guy? To me, right now, he's not. There's more competition left on the table. I mean, there's a summer and fall camp that, if they all stick around, is going to be really highly competitive. Highly competitive. So, I still think that there's enough time to find the right guy. But if you're looking for our vote, I think it's 13. I think Nussmeier's your number one guy. I think that
And if you make the call for Nussmeier, Brennan's gone?
Depends on the timing of it. I think that LSU's going to try and play it as close to the vest as possible, but I would.
It's amazing we're in the same spot we were last year at this time. With the same
weird.
guy. It's
weird.
Because he's almost good enough to where you don't know what to do.
I know.
It's interesting.
I know. It's crazy, man.
Sad.
Not a bad problem to have.
Cody Boudreaux, $5 super chat. Thank you, Cody. Good morning. Jordy, that pro scout thing seemed like a random Tiger droppings thread. We never got a source. Brandon Hollingsworth,
Tiger
honestly, I am all for the Nuss Bus if he is the best. The Nuss Bus, if he's the best. Never been a Brennan fan. Just think that there is a reason he's back. One Team, One Podcast. Info came from Mike D.
Sell the old Budman this weekend.
Brandon Dixon played 3 years in college football, but still not a quarterback. I'm sorry, I lost you on that one. Don't know what you're talking about there. But yes, somebody did ask if Brennan. Jesse Grace asked, does Brennan have 2 years left? He does. He's got 2 years left.
That's what makes the transfer so, I don't know if he leaves or not. Because if it's just 1 year, the second somebody else wins the job, he's got to go. But since it's 2 years, you don't know if he'll stay or not.
But if he's looking down the line and sees 14, I would bail.
Right.
I would head for the heels. I would be running if I'm anybody outside of Nussmeier. I would say, I'm out of here. I mean, if I'm a young quarterback, because the future and Walker Howard, and even I think that the Garrett Nussmeier competition is going to be really fun to watch.
Where was he headed? Southern Miss?
Southern Miss.
Where he landed first?
Which would
and then
probably
came
be a
back from?
great
It
spot
would be a great
for
spot
him,
for him.
dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go live it up, party it up, man. I mean,
He's doing that,
be a
I would
starter
imagine, here.
Yeah.
Rico says, can you get Jordy a set of knee pads he can slip on before he starts blowing players?
Good one, Rico. You don't need any knee pads. You can just stand straight up and blow them. So I know I can't borrow yours, little man.
Oh, there it is.
That didn't go the way you thought it would.
You insecure fuck. But I did have somebody tell me, and this is 2019, 2019, it was a great story. Somebody said, you want to know the difference between Miles Brennan and Joe Burrow? And look, unfair to probably grade anybody against Burrow at the quarterback position, but Brennan happened to be his backup during that year and had a first-row seat to watching greatness. He was his road roommate. Played a lot of football, Brennan did in 19. So, I mean, he was really in all of those meeting rooms, saw everything up close, had a firsthand account of the greatest season quarterback that LSU football history. Miles Brennan was the co-pilot of it. And somebody said the difference between Brennan and Burrow is we get off the bus, Alabama. The whole state feels like they're at Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport greeting LSU. They bus back to the facility. Burrow has carloads of not college girls. He's got carloads of women, like older women, waiting on him at the facility, trying to take him somewhere. Burrow dodges all of that, gets up to the facility, gets into the video room with Joe Brady. They start breaking it down. Brennan jumps in his truck to go duck hunting. That was the story that was relayed to me of just the difference in the player, where Burrow is, he loves it. He's obsessed with it. There's nothing that is going to distract him away from it. Anything. Nothing. I mean, the coach that was telling me this, he was like, Jordy, not sorority girls. Women are waiting on Burrow at the facility. I mean, the coaches are looking around like, this guy. He shuns them off, dodges them, gets upstairs to the facility. They're watching film all night, breaking down so they can have their Sunday scouting report built for the next week. And it wasn't as if he was trying to tell me that it was a knock on Brennan. It's just Brennan wanted to go duck hunting. How can we fault him? But the guy that he's being compared to, he's in the video room. He's breaking it down. I've heard the same thing about Nussmeier. I've heard just the same obsession about the game from people that are around LSU on Nussmeier. And maybe it's because they both come from football families. Both of their dads are high-level coaches. They've seen it, understood it, and really kind of inhaled the game since they were 5 years old. Since they could walk, talk, speak it, they were always around ball. Man, it has a ton to do with it. And probably 9 out of 10 of us that are listening out there, if given the opportunity to jump off the bus after a huge win and get down to your duck hunting camp and go celebrate, we're probably going to all hop in the truck and go duck hunting.
Or with an older woman.
But there's that guy, or there's that person that says, I'm going to continue to work on the craft to get better. And, you know, I think Nussmeier is not Joe Burrow, but he's got that passion and obsession about football. And sometimes when you're in competition that feels as close as this is, sometimes it's the little stuff like that of watching the 3.5 hours of extra film on game night after a win that gets you ready for the next week, that gives you that small advantage in a competition that feels so close. So, look, I don't think that the competition is over. I think at this point, Garrett Nussmeier is the leader. Remember, we're brought to you daily by RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. RMB-builders.com. RMB-builders.com is where you find them online. If you're looking for a custom design home, if you need any work done around your house or even the office, he's commercially licensed over there at RMB Builders. Get in touch with Rhett today and let him get over and help you out. Get online and check them out, rmb-builders.com. Discover homes with extraordinary quality and excellent design from our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. RMB-builders.com is where you can find them online. RMB-builders.com is where you can find them online. Appreciate everybody interacting with us this morning. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We're going to talk to Billy Embody coming up here in 12 minutes. So we will shift the conversation back to LSU football. Huge recruiting weekend. Speaking of recruiting weekend, they had 5 stars just kind of falling out of the sky on LSU's campus this weekend. We'll talk to Billy Embody about all of them that were in town. But, man, LSU really kind of flexed their muscles as far as the alumni was concerned. You saw Burrow was back in town. First time back in Baton Rouge for Burrow since hoisting that national championship trophy back in 2019. An enormous get for Brian Kelly, the coaching staff for LSU, to bring Burrow in this weekend. Jamar Chase, the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, was with Burrow side by side on Friday night, taking a lot of pictures with some high-end players coming out of the facility, and then back on Saturday at the spring game, joined by Thaddeus Moss and Justin Jefferson and Derek Stingley.
What a crew!
It was a flex coming out of the locker room mid first quarter for the 2019 crew. Somebody told me that Burrow had his smoothie cup fished out of the trash can by a
sorority girl. Yes.
Sorority girl. Beat our own Jack to it as Jack was trying to track the cup
down.
We've already got Tyrann Matthews' glass of undrank water still intact here in our trophy room.
Yeah, break in case of emergency behind
If we could have
glass.
gotten a Burrow smoothie cup drinking, that would have been an excellent addition to the trophy case.
Absolutely.
So weird.
That means, do you think she was watching,
Yes.
waiting,
Yes,
looking?
absolutely. That
Yes.
psycho was stalking him.
I wish we'd find out who it is. How much of the game did you see? None of it, but I got the most important
The
thing
girls
there.
were stalking him like that. In
He
that
looked great.
moment.
I got a couple of texts from like guys on Thursday night. Where's Burrow going to be tomorrow night? I'm like, I don't know, man.
Back to Mercado's to get his haircut.
I got no idea, man. But it was great to see him.
Was it smoothie? I, thought it was
I don't know.
Maybe a little daiquiri smoothie.
I did
Clyde
hear
looked
daiquiri.
loose,
Clyde did look a little loose.
and they all went together. All had so.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was down there.
Yeah, I heard it was a daiquiri party, not a smoothie
Really?
party.
Good.
Good for
Doesn't mean
them,
that's
man.
true.
Yeah, good for them.
It was hot.
It's great to see Burrow back in town. Now, build this man a statue, for God's sakes, so we can celebrate him down here and get this thing
Like
done. What is
Baker.
taking so long?
Was this a waste of
Nothing
the
like
card?
Baker's statue.
Baker's
please.
statue was more disrespect for Baker. Who was that?
I have no idea.
I mean,
it's not Baker.
It looked like an old
Mayfield.
Texas A&M white running back. You know what I mean? Like,
Wait, he got the Cristiano Ronaldo treatment?
Yeah,
it's just no
it's
good.
nothing like
I mean,
it.
Yeah.
his just. Hey Baker, I know
He's
that you're the
excited,
laughing
though.
stock of the sports world right now.
Here's a statue.
Yeah, here's a statue that looks nothing like you. It's like Kyler Murray. I mean, it's terrible.
Look at it. It looks
It's
nothing like
it's
it.
unbelievable, man. Look at this guy.
Can you put it up there?
Absolutely.
He was excited though. Baker was
Oh, yeah, I mean-
Yeah, I mean it's a cool thing that you get
Yeah.
a statue of you, but it's just that's not a statue.
It could
of
be.
him.
This is like Madden player generic one. It could be
They just
anybody.
Put his jersey on it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bad, bro.
it's not good.
It's bad.
If they did that to Joe Burrow's statue, people would
It's
like
the eyebrow situation. I
people
think.
would like tear it down.
It
His
doesn't
face
look
is
like him.
like his face looks nothing like that.
Right.
And
It's
if you don't get the
different.
face right,
It's a
It's
cool
not him.
statue though. Like,
is,
yeah, if the
sure.
face was right. It's a
If
cool
they did that to Joe Burrow's statue, what do you think LSU fans would do? They would tear
Fix
the
it.
statue down?
fix it.
They would have a revolt.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have some type of like
His hand
Crowd
looks
push.
huge.
sign a
Need a new
petition.
one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Cody Boudreaux, we need a statue of Burrow so we have a place to go worship.
We got the candle.
Tommy Poole said, I had no idea how handsome Thad Moss is. He's going to be on TV one day.
Sneaky kind of looked like
sliding
the
those
coolest
demons.
in the
Yeah.
in the group with
did.
the cornrows. That was
Confidence
cool.
was high.
Yeah, Randy.
But it was great to see the legends back in Baton Rouge.
Did
over the
LSU
weekend.
burn the Burrow card, the Burrow and Jamar card too early? Like,
No.
would you want to see it?
No, I don't.
If you guarantee them one trip to LSU, is this the one that you'd want to use?
Absolutely.
Because
I
that
mean,
was a big night game where there's 100,000 people there, not 1,500.
well, not only that. I mean, you had Dante Moore
Yeah.
and you had Carnell Tate. I mean, Dante.
You're the top quarterback in the country, and you get to come down to Baton Rouge and meet.
right, and then you're the number one wide receiver in the country,
Right.
and Carnell Tate, and you're hanging out with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Like, okay,
it's pretty
we're
cool, I
flexing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's more.
Yeah, this
recruiting
guy
tool than
invented the
fan
gritty.
tool.
This
Yes.
guy invented the gritty and set the rookie receiving record. A year later, this guy mastered the gritty and beat his own record.
Record.
You know
Yeah,
what I
in the
mean?
Super Bowl.
Right? So I mean, this was the absolute best weekend to roll them out.
And with the spring game, there's just so much like availability around it. It's not like a season game where they go play the game and then they gotta calm down. Like even if they lose, the possibility of losing, it's no fun. But with the spring game, you get to do the little crawfish dinner they did after, where everybody's hanging out. So it just gives them the opportunity
Their little
to.
crawfish dinner.
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
I love that, man.
Yeah,
They've
it just
embraced
gives them the
that, yeah.
opportunity to
Pick the brain.
Hang out.
William Ivy, Jordy needs a statue of Nussmeier. It's already in my office. Billy.
Don't make me
It's a
stand
blow-up
up.
doll.
Billy Baru. I can't stand up right now. Thinking about that wheel route Nussmeier threw to Josh Williams.
Wrecked another one.
Jesus. Sean Seaman?
Oh, probably.
Simeon. I
it
think
Simeon?
It's Simeon, actually.
Jordy, when it comes to you and Rico, you are cold-blooded. Thank you.
Sean Seaman.
Seaman. Trying to give you a compliment.
Rico Delgado, Jordy's just jealous I can go on all the rides on Disney. All the kid rides.
The teacups. Here's the
Rico,
handle.
send your email, bro. We want to video call you this morning. Shoot your email
Yeah,
into the...
he wants you to talk to
into the
Embody
chat.
about it again.
Oh, isn't Billy the guy we have to ask? We should ask
Yes.
Billy. We'll see.
God, might as well just freaking ask him at this point. It's ridiculous.
What if Billy's like, I don't know who the heck
He
you're
might-
talking
That's
about.
what
That's
he's
what's
going to
gonna
be.
happen.
That's what he's
Exactly.
going to be. He knows this clown, dude.
Yeah.
Telling you, man.
We
Rico's
gotta ask
fake.
him, though.
Delgado?
We gotta ask
We
him.
know Rico.
You must be this tall to ride the ride.
We will be back with Billy Embody here and the top of the second hour here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. All right, personal testimony from my trip over to Johnson Spillers. Shout out to my friend Dr. Chad Spillers for taking care of me, man. I had to have my front tooth, a tooth implanted on my front tooth, and it was a hell of an ordeal, but Dr. Spillers and the crew from Johnson Spillers made it as easy and seamless as possible to work with and have taken the final product, and it is absolutely beautiful. Learn more online at johnsonspillers.com, whether you're looking for Botox or you need help in any type of dentistry, whether it is dentures, night guards, if you're looking for Invisalign, if you're interested in implant dentistry like I got, you can get in touch with Johnson Spillers. Online, johnsonspillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easiest way to get them, online at johnsonspillers.com. City Cafe online at citycafebr.net, where good friends meet. Great food and even better service. Located in the shopping center behind Rite Aid on the corner of George O'Neill and O'Neill Lane. They cater for parties, big and small. Sundays, they serve a fantastic brunch that starts at 10 a.m. They have daily lunch specials. And remember, you can look at everything online at citycafebr.net. We'll give a shout out to Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, Dirk and the crew, everybody over at City Cafe for their support here, the Jordy Culotta Show. Online, citycafebr.net. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. DT, Jordy, last year you heard that Max is just special, so I'm not sure how reliable your sources are.
He was a starter.
That was coming from Derek Panamsky. He was not a football guy. I finally got a football guy giving my inside information about LSU football. And to Lloyd's point, he was the starter. So I can't tell you.
You can't say you were wrong.
I didn't write the report. I was just telling you what the guys inside the building were telling me. The guys inside of LSU football's building today tells me that Garrett Nussmeier's had a really consistent and good spring practice, and outside of the things on the field that I think you saw on Saturday, he's improved on. I think his accuracy is the biggest takeaway that you can, just kind of tune in, see, and say, wow, he's improved on that. But I think that everything that goes into playing that position, and there's much more to playing the quarterback position than just taking every snap on Saturday. Nussmeier's doing a really good job of learning that role. Billy Embody, who covers the program for our friends over at On3, a great recruiting site that is kind of new to the game. If you have not heard about On3, you need to check them out, man. They've got they got a great team of writers and guys that are following recruiting, including Billy, that they can give you the inside information on. If you want to log in and check out what they got going on at On3, you can check them out at on3.com. And Billy Embody is somebody who is with us a lot here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We appreciate his expertise. We appreciate his insight. Do we have Billy up? Lizzie?
He's not joined yet.
Okay.
He's not joined yet.
We will get to Billy here in a couple of minutes. But looking forward to getting just kind of the 411 from Billy on the spring game recruiting angle here this weekend from LSU. There was a ton of heavyweights in town as far as recruiting was concerned. We mentioned Dante Moore is the number one quarterback, or one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming out of the North. And then, Carnell Tate from IMG Academy. I believe Tate is originally from Chicago, who is one of the top wide receivers in the country, was in town. So you had a lot of the who's who here this weekend, including some of the commitments that are already in. I saw that Harold Perkins was in town. So a lot of the guys that are coming over here in a couple of weeks. Landon Ibieta, who we talked to last week, who is finishing up his high school season or high school year academically.
I think he's done.
Yeah.
Never seen somebody more checked out of high school. He reminded me of me. Jesus.
I know. It's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Like, Landon, coaches are watching. For God's sakes,
But I'm
man.
telling you, no, he went check out of college.
Right.
Just don't want to do high school anymore.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I've taken some tests. I don't know. I have a couple left. Sounded like he was not taking those.
No, it doesn't.
We good here? Give me a seat.
I've got my proctor
Exactly.
taking that exam for me.
Can they get extended time?
It did sound like that. Why not?
Yeah, right. Why not?
I mean, could you imagine? I already had senior
Yes,
and
I
I
could.
had nowhere to go.
No,
I could.
Imagine wanting to play LSU football.
I had nowhere near the talent of Landon Ibieta, and I was a total prick my second semester of the senior year.
Well, what sports
I was
were
so
done?
entitled.
Absolutely. Oh.
What do you want me to show up?
Yeah. The only thing that was keeping me here was playing
Jesus.
football and baseball. And now those are done.
I scored
See
6
ya.
touchdowns for you during the season.
Yeah.
You should be paying me.
Put some money in your pocket.
Culotta, go home. You're
Professor.
suspended, for God's sakes.
Shave,
The hell outta
smoke.
here,
I don't
man.
care.
Yeah,
Go home.
right. Get out of here, man.
Go to the public
We
pool.
might mail you your diploma.
Keep it.
But a kid like Ibieta, I mean, what you know what I mean? What are we gonna do here?
Right.
What are we gonna tell this kid? You know what I mean? We were selling football tickets with the kid's image on it.
Right.
So we will talk to we'll talk to Billy about Landon too, Ibieta, and just the impact on LSU season that he could have next year. There's a lot of buzz after last week's interview. Then a lot of people talking about the impact that people are bracing for Ibieta to make here in year one. Not a obviously not one of the top options, but just a unique package that you can put in there with his speed and his capability of catching the football. I think everybody raves about his hands and how sure-handed he is in catching the ball, and then of course his ability to make plays after he has the ball in his hand. All right, let's. Am I seeing Billy?
Yeah, but we have no audio on his end. He's working on something.
Okay.
I can see him going through the trials and tribulations of a video call as we
You stressing over there?
Nah, I mean, at this point, I feel like I know what we're doing on our end. It's just making sure we relay the message properly.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So this is Billy's fault, you're saying?
At this point, yes. I feel very confident in how to do it and what we do. So hopefully, we can get it figured out.
Creek Dweller says the spring game only gives a glimpse of the talent. It does nothing as far as the alignment of starters. They weren't allowed to hit or tackle. Wait until the Florida State game, then you'll see what you got. Look, I agree with that.
That is kind of hard when you can't get tackled, right?
No doubt.
Really
No doubt. But they have had some live run inside of training camp that I think that, you get a true evaluation of where you are. I don't think that they're leaving these 15 practices and yesterday's and Saturday's spring game blind, right? I mean, I think that you've learned some things. You know where you stand kind of going into the offseason, and you kind of now given yourself maybe not a pecking order, but at least, a frame of reference for competition. And I think, look, we focused, 803? We have focused, pretty much 63 minutes on the quarterback here. Bill says he cannot hear us.
I know. I'm seeing that.
And, the quarterback position is the one that we've talked about for the last, 63 minutes, but I think that there are many more competition, many more spots that are competitive on the field that people are looking at. I mean, I think all along that offensive line, there's competition. I think there's competition for, who's going to be in the rotation at wide receiver. I still think that your top three is, Kayshawn, if he's right and healthy. Malik Neighbors looks like he has really exerted himself into being a guy that you can count on. Jack Besh has got to be in the mix. That. And I think Jeray Jenkins is a guy that's kind of under the radar here that we're not talking about, that's going to be somebody that makes a lot of plays at that position. But, who's going to be in that right? What'd you think about Kyron Lacey after seeing him on Saturday? Inconsistent with his hands.
He had a rough – he even had a rough practice on Thursday, just with some drops. And so, but I think he showed, his talent as, getting open and being able to give himself an opportunity to make the grab. He just wasn't coming down with them. So – I think he's still going to fight for a spot, and I think that room is still one of the deepest on the team. And that's kind of how I feel about every position. There's so much talent that whoever wins the competition, it's going to, you got the right guys. Mm-hmm. And because we have the right coaches in charge, you got Brian Kelly leading it, and there's just so much talent that it's going to drive the best. The best is going to rise to the top, and so we'll see who that is come September.
Hayden Paris, here comes the Jordy headset throw. Incorrect, Hayden. Here we go, going to Billy Embody. Fresh on a video here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as the phone lines are brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions. Shout out to Jason Ramazan and Charlie Harvey. There's our guy, Billy Embody, baby-faced on a Monday morning for you. Bill, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, guys.
Yes.
How are you?
Yes. Great to hear from you, Bill.
Our first never disappoints.
We have talked the last 63 minutes on the quarterback and what we saw on Saturday. I have tabbed my vote for Garrett Nussmeier as the guy coming out of spring that I'm most confident in winning the job going into fall camp. What was your evaluation of the quarterback position over the 15 practices that you covered and the spring game that you saw on Saturday?
I think Garrett Nussmeier made a statement in the spring game. I mean, he was excellent. I think he showed some moxie, showed, his ability to put the ball in tight spaces and make plays. That was what really stood out about Garrett. And that's, as you watch the broadcast too back, I mean, that's some of the things that stood out about him in high school. He has that fearlessness to his game. And, he talked about it earlier this spring, trying to corral that into the right direction, and I think he showed that in the spring game. I think for the most part, all the quarterbacks need to improve on their consistency and accuracy, and that was something that stood out in the over the course of spring practice. But Garrett really put that together in the spring game. Jaden Daniels, I think, actually finished the spring game strong. Mm-hmm. A lot of those throws late in the game for him were at least on the money. He led a touchdown drive. Was able to drop in a couple of passes that should have been touchdowns. And so I think his numbers were a little deceiving. I do think early on he was probably pressing, and you can tell he's still got to get better on his consistency. But even Brian Kelly was breaking it down kind of live in the game and saying that, this is some new footwork that he's working with. He's got to get more comfortable with it. And then Miles Brennan looked the part as well, I feel like. And at times, I think, with as much rotating as they did with the position groups, especially, in the second half here and there, they really didn't have a way to really kind of almost know your personnel that was maybe out there with you, which is kind of an interesting thing. So as they get those opportunities in practice with whether you're with the ones or the twos to develop that timing and consistency, sometimes that helps as well. So there was a little bit of shuffling here and there with the position groups as well that sometimes makes it interesting over the course of a game to adjust to who you're throwing to and all that.
Bill, where did you find the competition out the fiercest? I think the quarterback, outside of that discussion, I think everybody was looking in that position. Where is the most fierce competition on the field after that?
I think it's got to be running back.
Yeah.
In a weird, it's a great position and it's a good problem to have. But Josh Williams played well. Armani Goodwin looked like the running back we thought he was going to be as a top 10 overall running back in the country, one of the best prospects in the country, and ran the ball really, really well. John Emery, even with his foot ankle deal, he was really good in a limited number of runs. I just think that position, when you add Noah Cain into the mix as well, is looking really good coming out of spring and dividing up those touches. I mean, honestly, you can kind of see why Corey Kiner decided to transfer back home to Cincinnati. I mean, it's a difficult position to break through, and they're gonna get guys involved in the passing game. That was encouraging to see. I mean, that wheel route to cap things off, from Walker Howard to that pass, impressive. And even Corey Norman made that play. So it's a deep position group, and Noah Cain's not even here yet. That one really impressed me on the offensive side of the ball. And then I think defensive line is one that has some competition. You know who the guys are, but there are players that are pushing those guys like Mason Smith, B.J. Ojolari, Ali Gay. You look at Jacqueline Roy, Jacoby and Guillory, Bryce Langston had a sack. I mean, it's a deep group, especially in the interior for Jamar Cain to work with and for Matt House to kind of toy around with as far as alignments go.
No chance that scared Noah Cain away, right? After seeing all the depth that LSU was playing with, he wasn't intimidated by what was going on back there, was he?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to finish things out in Baton Rouge for sure.
Billy Embody joining us. What did you make of the offensive line? Some of the rotations that we saw. We were talking a little bit about Xavier Hill. I thought had a really good day, but anybody stand out for you on that unit?
Not too much. I mean, honestly, they had some issues at times with pass protection. And I think, piecing everything together, as they got Will Campbell out there at left tackle was probably the biggest thing that happened during spring ball. I mean, he was impressive. But the defensive line still got plenty of pressure. I mean, it's not a position that you feel incredibly good about just yet. You see the pieces starting to fall into place, which is important, especially Will, solidifying that left tackle spot. At least it looks like. But overall, I mean, there's not much depth that, they sailed the snap over Miles Brennan's head to kind of cap one of those drives, and that was a turnover. So whenever they get Marlon Martinez and Garrett Dellinger back, that center position, after Charles Turner, you got to at least get the depth there and still have that battle for that position. Because if somebody goes down, that's going to be, you got to have somebody that can snap the ball. And then the interior, I think they got some pressure on the interior. So, that's still going to be battle. So not a position that you feel incredibly good about, but at least you saw Will Campbell really solidify that left tackle spot this spring.
The Rock Stars were back in Baton Rouge this weekend. Burrow was home. Chase was home. Jefferson was down here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was back in Baton Rouge. Thaddeus Moss was walking the sidelines. Even Derek Stingley Jr., who feels like he's going to be a top 10 pick later this week in the NFL draft, was down there with him. Did that have any impact on recruiting, and what does it mean to bring those guys back on a weekend like this when there's so many hot prospects in town?
Yeah, that was talking about good timing. I mean, Dante Moore and Carter Tate, 2 5-star prospects on campus for official visits. They were able to meet with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and be around those guys. And, that's huge. I think that's impressive when you can obviously bring guys like that back. It's a big deal, and it shows, even with the new era with Brian Kelly coming in, that those guys are still coming back, even though they weren't here with him. That's impressive, and that speaks to just LSU and how those guys are still going to come around and be a part of the program and things like that. So that was huge. Derek Stingley Jr. was here as well, like you mentioned. He got a picture with Christian Gray, one of the top prospects in the country, and Tyrann Mathieu was talking with Michael Doherty and Ryan Yates. So, I mean, they really had everybody out there, it seemed like, and it really helped. I feel like, just, again, that added bonus of having those guys just there to meet with those players, even if just for a few minutes, it stands out to those guys. And those are the elite guys that these prospects are watching now in the NFL and with Sting soon to be watching. So it all helps and just added to the overall star power of a good recruiting weekend.
Where is this class standing right now? We talked to Mac Markway last week, who's one of the headliners of this class, and I was speaking to a staffer who said, look, Markway could probably start on the team this year just because of their need at tight end and his ability. How do you see this class shaping up? It feels a little bit more national than years past, and it feels like LSU really has a legitimate chance with some of these big-time, high-end national prospects.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's shaping up fairly well. I mean, Dante Moore was on campus. He's a 5-star quarterback, #1 player in Michigan. If they can reel him in somehow, that would be huge. He's going to Oregon this weekend for an official visit, I believe. So his recruitment is starting to take on a little bit more of a national feel when some people thought it was maybe going to be hard for him to get out of the Midwest and pull him away from a Notre Dame or a Michigan. So that'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I mean, he is really, really, really good. I mean, he would be somebody that could probably come in and compete pretty early on, I would think, in his career if he ended up at LSU. So he's somebody that if you get on board this class, all of a sudden kind of the sky would be the limit from there. If they miss on him, I think they look at somebody like Ricky Collins, locally a Baton Rouge prospect who's committed to Purdue and has had a really, really nice offseason. And so there's some of your Louisiana flavor coming into play potentially. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned the national guys that they're on. Darren Reed, he's somebody that we had as a 4-star who should be in 5-star territory really. If the rankings ended today, he'd be a 5-star. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the country. He was on campus. He told me he's going to come back for an official, and LSU is right there with Ohio State battling it out with him. They had Ryan Yates and Michael Doherty. They're 2 4-star safeties on campus that are committed, and those guys are set to really take an active approach in recruiting. Other players like Christian Gray, the 4-star corner, who Robert Steeples has been recruiting. Dalen Austin is another 4-star corner that was actually on campus Thursday and Friday. He came away really impressed with the program, and he's long. He comes from California, so you're really looking coast to coast because then you kind of get into the flavor of, Carnell Tate. He's at IMG Academy in Florida. If Dante Moore's impressed and that's trending well, maybe LSU can make a move for him as well, and he's a 5-star wide receiver. Some of the offensive linemen they're on, Chase DeSantis, one of the best offensive tackles in the country from New Jersey. Bryson Sanders, a 4-star offensive lineman who I think LSU's in a really, really good spot to land, is from Tennessee. I mean, they're really looking all over the place for prospects, and right now things are kind of trending well for them in some cases.
Bill, it looks like it was a pretty busy weekend for the running back recruitment. Trey Holly, who is one of the top players in the state of Louisiana, out of North Louisiana, and then Parker Jenkins, who's a speedster out of Texas, were both in town. Where do they stand in that position? And obviously Frank Wilson leading that recruitment has everybody intrigued on where they'll land.
Yeah, Trey Holly, I mean, is somebody that a lot of people have pegged for LSU for a long time, whether it was the old staff or this staff. And he's been on campus now a couple times this spring. I think LSU's sitting in a really, really good spot for him. One of the most productive players in the country at his position over the last 4 years, especially. He's, on pace to break the Louisiana high school rushing record, which is pretty wild. And he's kind of, 5'7", 180-pound back. He's built pretty well in a small size. Productive. I think LSU sits in the best spot to land him right now. And then Parker Jenkins is somebody who played as a backup on a really good Klein Forest team and averaged 9 yards a carry. And so this year he's going to get an expanded role. He's clocked a 10.66 in the 100 meters, so he's got that elite speed. I think even though he's a 3-star by everybody in the rankings, everybody has him really in that 3-star range where, okay, if he continues this production, he's going to shoot up into the 4-star rankings and be one of the best ranked running backs in the country. But he's been picking up Power 5 offers left and right this offseason, and LSU was a big offer for him. I talked to him before the offer, and he was telling me that LSU was a school that he really coveted. Now he got it. He ended up coming over to campus with a couple of his teammates, including Jelani Watkins, who's a 2024 top 50 overall prospect at receiver. But yeah, LSU sits in a really good spot to land Parker Jenkins now too, and I think he's really one of the best running backs in the country, and he's going to show it this year.
Billy, we talked to Landon Ibieta last week from Mandeville, and he is a guy that's speaking to some people around the program. There is an expectation for him this season to contribute, just not knowing where yet. Where do you imagine him having an impact in year one?
I mean, I think wide receiver is still a group that they're looking for consistent guys to step up. I mean, we've seen Brian Thomas We saw Malik Neighbors. We saw Kyron Lacey get looks. I mean, obviously Jack Besh and Keishawn Butte will be big pieces, but they still need guys. And they we've seen them rotate receivers in the past under the previous regime, but this is probably a group that you want to develop, again, more consistency out of. We saw that from 2018 to 2019 when those young receivers stepped up and emerged into that best receiving group in the country. We want to see, that continued growth from those guys if you're the coaches, and, develop a group that's a little bit more consistent with the quarterbacks. But yeah, Landon is really consistent. He reminds me of Jack in that consistency realm. I mean, he's somebody that's a reliable pass catcher that finds ways to get open. And that's kind of probably the way that you would see him being used as a freshman.
So, Billy, how does the schedule work now as far as recruiting? Is it now get into recruiting season, or is there a calmness to it until the off season?
Yeah, there's still guys that are going to pop up on campus for visits before the summer, and kind of the second round of official visits really gets going in June. We'll see if they bring in any more guys for official visits now that the spring is over, but they'll still have unofficial visitors. And now it's time for the coaches to get on the road recruiting. Spring practices in Louisiana are going to start heating up. Spring practices around the country are going to start heating up. May is really the big month for that across the country and high schools. So we'll see the coaches get out, evaluate prospects, probably dish out some new offers, and go check in on their top targets, their commits. I imagine like Terry Cooks will go see Michael Doherty and Ryan Yates here pretty soon. Mike Denbrock will go see Mac Markaway. They'll go check in on Omarion Miller, who's their 4-star wide receiver committed in Louisiana. And they'll go see their top targets and show them that, hey, you're a priority. They can go see them twice this spring, I believe, is the rule to evaluate them. And so that the coaches will get on the road and do that. And then the month of June is camps. LSU has, their offense, defense camp. They'll have skill position camp. They'll have 7-on-7 camp. They'll have their elite camp. And they'll also host official visitors before the dead period hits in July, and then fall camp, and we're into the season.
We got a question coming in for you, Billy, about the latest on Efton Reed and Adam Miller. Just to change sports real quick over to basketball. Are you hearing anything about where those two guys can land?
Honestly, it's been kind of a holding pattern right now. I know Adam Miller did take a visit to TCU, but he didn't commit. At least right away, hasn't made a decision from what I'd heard. Efton Reed, I believe I saw he was at Virginia Tech recently, so both of them are still going through the process of trying to figure out what they want to do. As of yesterday, I hadn't heard that they had made a decision either way. So both of those guys are still, have the potential to return.
Billy Embody with no AirPods.
I was going to email him after the show. And
Coming
say, what
in
did you do?
loud and clear.
Yes, he changed
Looks
the method.
great. Sounds great. Easy. Don't take those out.
See, look, he picks them up and something happens.
Jesus Christ, Billy. Have a great day. Great information as always. Thank you, buddy.
Billy IT.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
There he is. Billy Embody checking out. Hey, look, check out On3 Sports. It is a new option for you of somebody who is covering recruiting and doing it at really a very intense level. So check them out at on3.com. On3.com is where you check them out. That is on the number 3.com is where you can pick them up, and that's where Billy Embody is covering it for the Bengal Tiger edition of On3 Sports. That conversation.
Asked him the Rico question.
Yeah, almost slipped. Well, I was looking at little man's name when I was trying to think of the question. Remember, Daily, that we're brought to you by Edward Jones, our friends over there, Daniel Newman, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Got any questions about your finances, investments, on how you can become more financially responsible or financially stable? Get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com is where you can email in to Danny, asking him any questions that you may have. And then, of course, we always remind you, if you work at any of the plant industries, whether it's Exxon, Rubicon, any of them along down here, if you're listening to this show and you work within that industrial industry, get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. He's got so much experience in that space. He's helped out so many people along the way. Let them help you out today. Let Daniel help you out today with your finances. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. We will talk a little Pels coming up here. Our good friend Nick Underhill is doing some cool stuff with his podcasting network, and he's kind of expanded it out to bring in a Pelicans edition, and the guy that's handling that for him is Garrick Rattler, who is going to stop in here in 15 minutes. So we will talk about the Pels moving on to Game 5 with the series tied up 2 games apiece with the Phoenix Suns. They will go back to the Valley of the Sun on Tuesday, and then they'll be back in New Orleans on Thursday for Game 6, and then finish up over the weekend if a Game 7 is necessary back in Phoenix to close out this series. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. City Cafe online at citycafebr.net, where good friends meet. Great food and even better service, located in the shopping center behind Rite Aid on the corner of George O'Neill and O'Neill Lane. They cater for parties, big and small. Sundays, they serve a fantastic brunch that starts at 10 a.m. They have daily lunch specials, and remember, you can look at everything online at citycafebr.net. We'll give a shout-out to Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, Dirk and the crew, everybody over at City Cafe for their support here at the Jordy Culotta Show. Online, citycafebr.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. Shout out to Tom Granning from everybody over here at FM Digital Media, as he is our fuel sponsor. Whether it's fuel cards or snacks, he's keeping us going every day at FM Digital Media. If you're out on Highway 61, make sure and stop in and see him over at Go Mart. That is located in Natchez, Mississippi. It is our favorite convenience store, and it's for our guy Tom Granning, who supports us every day over here at FM Digital Media.
Hey y'all, it's Mikey from Mic'd Up. Catch us live every Monday and Wednesday, 11 to 1. Talk gambling, talk sports, have a ton of guests in here, get a little perspective from the athlete side of it. We got Lloyd in the house, Jay Mitch is in here a lot of the time. It's a fun show, great show. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you don't like it, it's fine. Make fun of us, it's okay. Just get us out there, share us out there. We having fun, we want to share our fun with you. Like I said, Mic'd Up, brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Every Monday through Wednesday, 11 to 1. Catch us live on YouTube, baby. See y'all.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet here on this Monday morning. Please hit that like and share button. Comment if you don't mind. We appreciate your interaction. As daily, we are brought to you by GoFlow IV. Check out our friends over at GoFlow IV online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. If you had an eventful weekend, if you're trying and struggling to get back into these Monday work week, then stop into GoFlow this morning and get a little energy from our friends over there. Vitamin IV hydration infusion over there at GoFlow. If you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit over there. Jefferson Highway, easiest way to find them is online. They take walk-ins, but recommend that you book an appointment. GEAUX, flowiv.com, goflowiv.com. Our friends over there, mention the Jordy Culotta Show, and it'll save you 15% on your initial call. We'll talk Pelicans here in a couple of minutes as we will talk to the podcast host over there at the Pels Pod. Garrick Rattler will be here in a couple of minutes. He is the co-host of New Orleans Network's own Pels podcast. He hosts it with his brother. And they do a great job, man. Brandon Ingram last night went off yet again as Ingram last night plus 30. He was in points. He was plus 19 on the floor last night in his plus minus. He affected the game in so many ways, including defensively. I think everybody is look, you need his offense at this part of the season. You're banking on his offense at this part of the season. You're counting on his offense at this point of the year. But when you look up and in the playoffs, you see him playing the intense defense that he's playing, man, that makes the Pelicans a very tough out. It seems like the Pelicans are playing at a very high, confident level last night. And look, Jose Alvarado, for him to be able to needle and get into Chris Paul like he did last night. We said it before the series, or at least after game one. If Chris Paul's going to go nuclear and get 19 in the fourth quarter and they win the game, then you know what? You tip your hat and you say, good luck down the rest of the way, man. I mean, that's a 37-year-old playing at that high of a level, and you knew his first game back in New Orleans in the playoffs, he was going to go off, and he did on Friday night. Credit to him, man. The old man was playing at an extremely – I mean, he's 37 years old.
I know.
I mean, he's 37. You think about Herb Jones. I mean, what's Herb, 22? I mean, 22, 23. I mean, he's a kid guarding Chris Paul, giving him hell last night.
He didn't do as well on Sunday.
No, not –
and he can't cover for Devin Booker, who's going to be back, right? Game 5, maybe? That's what they saying.
Game 3 and 4 to 2 to 3 weeks. So I think he's out for the whole series.
Really?
Yeah.
But
man, there's
Friday
some
night,
rumors.
Ben Simmons vibes on Booker.
Yeah. But Friday night, they kept switching on that pick and roll in the fourth quarter, and we'd end up with Nance on CP, and every time that happened, his eyes would light up. Stealing. And so
I mean, it was the
game plan
one-handed
last night.
layup. He doesn't even touch the ball with the left hand. He just scoops it in. But last night, Jose Alvarado was just a pest to Chris Paul, and then
I don't know what's going to happen when he's out there, but something's going to happen.
Yes.
I know.
He causes
And he
just
gets so
chaos.
excited.
and as you know, in watching this show, we love Herb.
We love her.
Yeah, we love a ton of Herb. In fact, we could Herb all day. But Herb last night was giving CP hell in the first couple. Him and Alvarado kind of bouncing back and forth, and then you look at you look up. And you've got a second-round pick. What was Herb? The 35th pick in the draft, 36th pick in the draft. And Alvarado was an unrestricted free agent signing. And these two guys are two of the most impactful players in a playoff series. I mean, it's nuts.
He looked like he was chasing his
It's
kids.
wild.
He's like, these young son bitches, I can't keep up with them.
He did. He looked very parent annoyed. You know what I mean? Like, get your ass in your room.
Stop playing like this.
Shut the door. You're not coming out for the rest of the night.
The back pick was just a chef's kiss
Well, I
to the
mean,
game.
the beautiful part about that is in game one, when he looks at Alvarado, he's like, kid, get up here, man. You think I'm going to fall for this bullshit? And then he fell for it.
Got it.
In game 4.
The blender.
Do we have Garrett?
Yep.
All right, let's go to our video calls. Compliments of our friends over at Metropolitan Health Group. Look at our guy from the Pels Pod, from the New Orleans Network. Proud of our guy, Nick Underhill, man. Look at him expanding his brand down there in New Orleans, and he's got a great one in Garrick Rattler. Him and his brother host the Pels Pod. You got to check it out, man. It is it's a cool interaction between Garrick and Raphael. His brother, who is they host the Pels podcast. What a time to be a Pelicans insider and a Pelicans host, Garrett. Good morning. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, man. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, it's crazy in the city right now, man. I was in the blender last night, and it was wild, man. There was some NSFW going on in there, and
I got a party.
But it was all good, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So Chris Paul, we have seen him 2 times in this series go off in the fourth quarter. Both times they have done that is when Phoenix has won. What did you make of the way they defended him last night?
Yeah, I mean, seeing Willie come with those adjustments, you could see it from the get-go. I mean, early in the first quarter, Chris Paul came down and there were 2 or 3 guys that he was seeing when he came off the pick and roll, and those are the kind of adjustments you like to see from a young coach, in his first playoff series against his former boss, his former mentor. He was on Monty's coaching staff, and so you saw him come out and trap Chris Paul a lot. You saw him catch multiple bodies. You saw, Jose Alvarado coming in and being more aggressive. And Herb said it after game 3, he said that, he felt as though Chris Paul was a little comfortable getting into his sets, and he didn't feel them as much as he did. And you saw it last night. You saw people coming up and hedging him a little bit. You guys were speaking about Jose just being a badgering presence. And those are the kind of things that you need to see in Chris Paul. And once that fourth quarter started, those guys locked in because they know that that's Chris Paul's winning time. And those guys locked in. Those guys started picking him up. Herb playing all over the place, being Mr. Fantastic with his arms stretching out and everything. And so, it was good to see them kind of blitz him and not let him be as comfortable as he was throughout the earlier games.
Herb got them go-go gadget arms where he just keep on extending on you, man. You don't feel like you can get around him. For the same sense that Chris Paul gives you 19 in the fourth and Phoenix wins the game, when Brandon Ingram goes ham like he has in games 2 and 4, the Pelicans win the game. Another 30-point performance for BI last night. But Garrick, more from us and what we were talking about was his defensive presence last night. What have you made of Ingram's role during this playoffs? I mean, every single game he steps out there, it's the biggest game of his life, and he seems to respond.
Absolutely. We've talked about it on our podcast about how Brandon Ingram's growth, overall growth, has turned into, what we're seeing. And he's constantly growing. Every year he's gotten better at something, whether it be, they talked about his 3-point shooting. He got better at his 3-point shooting. And this year it's all about defense and leadership. And so you see him throughout this entire series, not allowing the Pelicans to fold in places where the Suns are giving them their haymakers. This is a championship team, a team that was in the finals last season. And so they have a lot of experience to draw off. And Brandon Ingram is just going out there and saying, no, it's not happening on my terms. And so you see him leading the charge offensively, but of course, like you said, defensively, using his length, using his athleticism, sliding over. Brandon Ingram has improved so much as an on-ball defender, but what impresses me most is his off-ball defense. Yeah. The way he's helping, the way he's sliding over, the way he's using his hands and his arms and putting them in a passing lane, and just being a tall, lengthy guy. And so you see him come up and kind of help on Chris Paul, and then after helping on Chris Paul, sliding over to get back to Jay Crowder and contest his jumpers as well. And once, like we always talk about, as if your stars are bought into that kind of mentality where they're going defensively and attacking defensively and being aggressive defensively, then that just leads to the path for the other guys, the Jose's, the Herbs, those guys to just follow suit and continue to do what they do defensively. So it's good to see Brandon Ingram kind of improve on that defense where everybody said that he needed to this season.
I thought Jonas Valanciunas was the second best player on the floor last night. I said that Ingram's plus minus was plus 19. I was wrong on that. It was Valanciunas' plus minus that was plus 19 with him on the floor last night. 26 and 15 for Jonas last night, and really the way that he handled DeAndre Ayton, even though Ayton had the points in the production, he didn't have the impact on the game that it felt like he has in the previous 3. What have you made of his series and where he is right now in Jonas?
Yeah, that's another thing that we talked about on our podcast before the series started. That was one of my biggest matchups. Could JV either play DeAndre looking for a max contract and has played in finals games against Giannis? Could he play DeAndre Ayton to a stalemate or win those matchups? Because if JV could win those matchups, that bodes well. And so you saw Jonas Valanciunas come out and be aggressive. It looks like it was almost a direct game plan for Willie Green to kind of attack DeAndre Ayton, attack his feet, attack his body. And you saw JV going at it. And JV throughout this entire season, there's not a lot of matchups that JV doesn't have, the advantage over, save for obviously Jokic and Embiid and Cat and those guys. But after those guys, he should have a size, strength, and skill advantage. And this game, this series is not, any different. So you saw him attacking, you saw him getting, attacking the body and the chest of DeAndre Ayton and getting him in foul trouble, and attacking early in the first quarter paid dividends off in the fourth quarter because you saw a lot of the Suns players in foul trouble. And so JV was a big part of that, fighting on those boards, getting those 15 rebounds. But also when JV is aggressive looking for his shot, too many times we've seen JV kind of shy away from, the times where he should be dominant, when CJ sits down or and it's Brandon Ingram and JV or vice versa. But yet last night you saw him attacking, going, looking for his shot, looking for the bucket. And it led to, like you said, that plus 19, which was phenomenal for JV.
Garrick Rattler, co-host of the Pels podcast. You can find on social media at Pels Pod. A part of our friend Nick Underhill's New Orleans.network over there. Of course, New Orleans.football, and then the Pels podcast over there. Garrick, the bright spot for me this season, and especially over the last 2 weeks, has been Willie Green. I think he is the biggest breath of fresh air for Pelicans fans to really realize that you got the guy. It feels like you kind of got like Sean Payton. 38 years old, young, can communicate with the players. You can tell that they really respond to him. And then the adjustments that he has made in this playoff series have made him so valuable to the Pelicans bench and to what they're doing game in, game out. What do you believe they have in Green, and what have you made of his playoff series up to this point?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Willie Green has done such a good job this season, and he kind of mirrors that rookie class a little bit. Has that belief, has that brashness, and he kind of gives you you don't really feel like it's his first year coaching, right? With some of the adjustments. Now, obviously, he has some things that he's going to learn and work out, but as far as like you say, his after timeout plays, keeping this team together when they were 1-12 and 3-16, and doing things like that. And so you have this coach who, these guys, we've heard Josh Hart when he was here, when they interviewed him, and he talked about how he, there were times last season he didn't enjoy coming to work. Well, now, you see these guys out there dancing and diving to the floor for Willie Green and things like that. And so obviously his speech, that speech in the playing game with you have to fight, you got to fight. Like that is the speech that has kind of like defined his season and defined the Pelican season as well. And so, moving forward, you have a guy who not only is, great in the locker room. And, we talked about how his relationship building was the thing that preceded him coming into the Pelicans. Well, now you see in his X and O's game as well. You're seeing the things that he can do on the court. You're seeing the adjustments that he's making. He's kind of gotten away from, living with guys and being, being committed to a guy, even to a fault at sometimes, but now he's kind of moving on to subbing in guys and playing the rookie, playing Herb Jones early in the season. That's something that takes a lot of courage for a guy in his first year doing it. So going into this series and this playoff series, having to go against Monty and those guys that he sat on the bench with, it could have been a moment that could have been too big for him. And the Pelicans have had would you say a successful season so far? With going to the players. And so he could have very easily folded in that moment, but he hasn't, and now we have a 2-2 series.
How do you like this series? Finishing up.
Man, listen, I've told, anybody who's asked me, at some point, as great as Monty is and as great as the scheme that he can draw up and as great as Chris Paul is, at some point, Chris Paul being 37, playing in one game, with one night's rest, with every game. And now you have all of these rookies, these young guys just kind of running around. And the more they stick into this series, the more confidence that grows into them. And that, Herb, Jose, and Trey don't really lack for confidence as it is already. And so, and now you have the best player, what I consider the best player in the series by a lot with Brandon Ingram. And so it's tough, man. But, I see the Pels at least getting past Game 6. I think this is going Game 7.
Woo! Game 6, at least they've guaranteed themselves another game in the Smoothie King Center. Game 6 will be happening on Thursday night. All right, Garrick, give me your point of view on Zion here. It's still a curiosity, I think, for as good as they are, in just wondering how good they could be with their superstar in the lineup. How far out is he, and what have you made in this season in covering this story?
Yeah, it has been a ride, man. It has been a ride. So Zion, obviously yesterday he had his warm-up game, and there's his warm-ups before the game, and there was a lot of videos circulating, kind of similar to all the things that we've seen, him pushing off that foot and dunking and laying the ball up and just looking spectacular. But obviously there's a situation going on where the stories that he wants to play, and that obviously the Pelicans have a different thing going on where they want to keep him out of the abundance of caution. But I think this season, what has come out of this Zion situation is that the team, as well as the city and everything, they are no longer, looking at Zion as the savior, right? They're looking, there's a team here now. There are guys around Zion that are instilling belief into the system, into the city. Willie Green coming in and doing a fantastic job. I think the narrative that Zion is coming in to save the Pelicans, and there needs to be Zion playing for the Pelicans to have anything. I think that narrative is changing with this playoff run. Obviously, when Z gets back, it's going to be, to the next level. It's going to be incredible to watch those guys kind of be an offensive team. Is going to be one of the best offenses in the league when he gets back. But I think for now, with the team playing as well as they are, I think a lot of it has to do with the belief that Willie Green has given in and everything. And so the Zion situation is going to come to a resolution at some point. I expect Zion to be on the court, whether it be later down in the playoffs if the Pels advance, or next season. Obviously, he's going to be back on the court in a Pelicans uniform, and you can kind of see him on the sidelines. There was a shot of him yesterday throwing up 6 during the Pelicans. The fans chanting Pels and 6 at the end of the game. And so he's engaged. He's on the bench cheering for everybody, dapping everybody off. Obviously, we want to see him on the floor, but as for now, the Pelicans are in a 2-2 series without him, and it's you have a team that you can love and build around and be excited for. So we'll see when he gets back. I hope he gets back soon, but we'll see.
Flock the flock up, Garrick. It is great to talk to you, man. Co-host of the Pels Pod that you can find on social media. Friend of ours, Nick Underhill, is doing great stuff down there in New Orleans, expanding his brand. And Garrick and his brother, Rafael, the face of the Pels Pod that you can find on Twitter at Pels Pod. Thank you, man. We'll be checking again soon.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jordy.
You got it, man. There is Garrick Rattler checking in from New Orleans, man. You can feel the buzz of the city right now as they are starving for a winner in New Orleans, and the Pelicans right now are giving them that. They will now get a guaranteed Game 6 back in the Smoothie King Center, back in the Blender on Thursday night, and judging by the turnout last night and the fans on Friday night, which Katie was there. We'll get her firsthand spot from the Blender here in a minute. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Hargrove Roofing and Steel Henry, our friend over there, Steel Henry. 318-229-7266. Some rain came through South Louisiana over the weekend. If you had any leaks or damage to the roof, you saw something, get Steel Henry over today, and he'll jump on your roof for free, give you that inspection, and let you know if you need a new roof or not. 318-229-7266. Mention the Jordy Culotta Show to him. 318-229-7266 is the phone number. Hopefully by now, if you're coming back as a listener, you've got that stored into your contacts list as your roofer in Steel Henry. So that way, whenever you do need him, you can just easily look up the number and get in touch with him over there at Hargrove and get in touch with Steel Henry. 318-229-7266 is the phone number. 318-229-7266. Store the number and make sure you get in touch with Steel whenever
today would be a great day to do it. We both went to a wedding this weekend, so I'm sure he's itching to get on our roof.
It's going to be pouring down rain today, though. I don't know about
he might
that.
get lucky then.
Perfect.
Steele did have to do he went back to his old ways. He used to be a bartender. He had to
really?
hook somebody out of Happy's.
Damn.
Somebody
No
threw a
way.
drink at a girl's face. He goes, "Come here, buddy."
No.
And he was like, "Yep." And he's like, the guy, Steele's like 6'6".
Yeah, right.
So the guy's like, "All right, I'm gone. Like, I'm not even
Was
putting
it
up a
girl on
fight."
girl or guy on girl throwing?
A guy threw a drink at a girl's face, and so he was like, "Hold on one second." Walked over there and got him, and he was like, "Look, we can do this one or two ways, you know."
In your wedding party, people? throwing
No,
drinks at
it
each
was.
other?
He didn't know either one of them. None of us knew it, but the place was packed.
Yeah.
But Steele saw it happen. and he used to be
That's
an
nice
enforcer
for
back
him.
in the day.
Wow.
So the gentleman still exists.
Not only
Chivalry
a solid,
isn't dead.
yes,
Right.
not only a solid roofer, but a gentleman to
A
boot.
gentleman.
Not
Not a scholar.
318-229-7266. What a great fantasy, ladies. Call the roofer today. He's a gentleman.
the pool
yeah,
boy.
right. Gonna jump up on the roof? Nah. Come on in.
Weather's perfect.
That's right. 318-229-7266. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll close it out. Twitter accepting Elon Musk's deal to buy the social media platform. They had to do it.
How does that change?
They had to do it. We'll see. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. All right, personal testimony from my trip over to Jonas Valanciunas. Shout out to my friend Dr. Chad Spillers for taking care of me, man. I had to have my front tooth, a tooth implanted on my front tooth, and it was a hell of an ordeal, but Dr. Spillers and the crew from Jonas Valanciunas made it as easy and seamless as possible to work with and have taken the final product, and it is absolutely beautiful. Learn more online at johnsonspillers.com. Whether you're looking for Botox or you need help in any type of dentistry, whether it is dentures, night guards, if you're looking for Invisalign, if you're interested in implant dentistry like I got, you can get in touch with Johnson Spillers. Online, johnsonspillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easiest way to get them, online at johnsonspillers.com. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out. southerneyecenters.com and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway. City Cafe online at citycafebr.net, where good friends meet. Great food and even better service, located in the shopping center behind Rite Aid on the corner of George O'Neill and O'Neill Lane. They cater for parties big and small. Sundays, they serve a fantastic brunch that starts at 10 a.m. They have daily lunch specials. And remember, you can look at everything online at citycafebr.net. We'll give a shout out to Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, Dirk and the crew, everybody over at City Cafe for their support here, the Jordy Culotta Show. Online, citycafebr.net. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Cody Boudreaux with the very rare Free chat, no money attached.
What the hell?
To this comment says he'd rather talk Pelicans with Garrett than anyone on the Jordy Culotta show. Sorry, good stuff. I agree. I think we all were.
It was great.
We all kind of agreed afterwards that Garrett was great.
Let's hire Garrett.
Pels Pod is where you can find him on social media. Chill out over there.
We got Tingle back there. He knows his Pels.
How was the Smoothie King Center on Friday night?
The game was great, y'all. I mean, obviously it was not as fun as yesterday's game, though. I wish I would have gone Sunday. But
did you pick up that T-shirt at the?
I did pick up this T-shirt. I got a CJ McCollum shirt too. I couldn't make a choice between the two. It was fun. It was great energy. I guess the downfall was, the pivotal point in the game was when Jackson Hayes had the flagrant. That was crazy.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
That was
crushed Jay Crowder.
He was just it was a little bit of youth.
He went back to his football days. He just put his shoulder down, put his head down, and bowled into Crowder. He knocked him down. Crowder's a big old dude, man.
Crowder plays this game where he's the NBA tough guy, but he seems to go down quite a bit.
He did ask for it for sure.
Yeah, he flopped again yesterday.
They were giving the fuck Jay Crowder last night.
Were.
Very loud.
That was a huge chant.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was fun.
The NBA doesn't really know what New Orleans is about. When it's popping like that, anything can be said. It's like Death Valley. Anybody can get the smoke. We don't care.
Right.
Exactly.
Jay Crowder. Pull the Smoothie King Center. Anybody know Jay Crowder before Sunday?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Tell me where Jay Crowder went to school. Who knows?
Marquette.
From? Yes, absolutely.
Oh, my
Marquette,
homies
great
hate
pool.
Jay Crowder.
It was a fun night though. Master P was there. I don't know if y'all saw
Yes,
that.
we saw him, dude, with the No Limit sweatshirt.
Yes.
The tank. And he had the old
And your
school,
golf people.
and he had the old school No Limit chain on.
Yeah.
I saw Bubba Watson was there Friday
Yeah, he
night.
was sitting next to him.
That's where I saw him. Yeah, look at Bubba's seats.
I know.
I wonder if Bubba knows much about Master P. He's a big god
He
guy.
was sitting right
for sure.
next to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And they did
I've got Bubba as
kick
the frat
check.
guy bouncing the hitting
Here's 20.
the New Orleans rap for sure.
They showed everybody's shoes too, sitting on the front. It was awesome.
Bubba's got good kicks.
Oh yeah, he
Strong
did.
kick game.
Always.
He really did.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Always.
he had some Jordans on. He was good. But Jose Alvarado, y'all, is so much fun.
Great.
I mean, tough loss, but 7 straight in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was exciting. That was a super exciting game.
Like
and I
we
wanted
said
to be
before
there
the
last
series,
night.
if Chris Paul is going to go, if he can get you 19 and a quarter, well, then you know what? Tip the hat, bro. You know what I mean? There's nothing we can do about that.
I know.
If he's going to do, but you see what happens when, he blows his energy in the fourth quarter of game 3. He comes back in game 4 and he almost looks dead.
Mm-hmm.
He was, last night was as bad as Chris Paul's ever played.
And I give the credit to Willie Green for adjusting because in the fourth quarter of game 3, Chris Paul was just picking them apart. And then he came out with a game plan for game 4. And from start to finish, they completely shut him down. He had 4 points?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was it.
4 points.
That's exactly.
No,
what
he had
happened.
11 assists.
Right.
But he had the stat line that jumps out is the turnovers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He never turns the ball over
He didn't
like
have
that.
a single turnover in, I think, game 2 and 3.
No.
Point
Right.
God.
Yeah.
Legit,
know.
point God.
It was fun to watch that
He
last
doesn't
night.
turn the ball over.
Rattled.
And he
Yeah.
was rattled. And, you never see people get him to engage in trash talk. Herb had him, going back at him. Herb was talking some shit that had him, flustered and, wanting to bark back at him. Did you see that scene in the Cleveland Indians, New York Yankees game?
Oh, with the fans
The
throwing
fans
Yes.
throwing the
At the-
bottles and the
That
guy
guy
jumping
climbed the
the
freaking
fence.
wall.
talking, yelling at him.
That was amazing.
Imagine
Telling you,
being
you're
that
fl-
guy on the
we're
front
flirting,
row.
we're
Something
flirting.
Yeah.
We're flirting with, the Kyrie situation in Boston
Yeah.
and Brooklyn,
That's why Ben Simmons
the Cleveland and Yankees.
That's why he's
Ben
wearing
Simmons, bro.
clown suit on the
Stay
sideline.
The audacity of that man to wear that outfit after the announcement you made. What are you doing, dude? Wear camouflage. Stay in the tunnel.
Unreal, man.
Well, the other thing is, if they win that game, if it's a 2-1 series, he's playing tonight.
Yeah.
It's
No
the
doubt.
fact that they lost.
Well, and I think
That should make him want to play more.
doesn't it? And I was thinking this morning when I was listening to, I'm trying to find it real quick, but ESPN Daily has a podcast, and it is a great listen. But on the latest edition of ESPN Daily, they sit down with the Brooklyn Nets beat writer, who is Nick. He's the one that was going back and forth with Kyrie the other night. He was like, "It's not hostile, bro. It's basketball."
Right.
And he's like, "But
It's hostile, bro.
Yeah, he's like, "Your energy." He's like, "But your energy is like, it's not energy. You know, like the back and forth. That was him.
Yeah.
And he's going, and he's got given like they took him from the Golden State beat. He's been covering Golden State for the last 5 years, and they put him on the Brooklyn beat this year. And he was talking about just the chaos of covering this team has been just like unlike he's ever seen. And the addition of Ben Simmons has only added more to that soap opera. Did you see that piece of social media a couple of weeks ago when Simmons had looked at the reporters like, hey, get this.
Yeah.
And he jumped and dunked it.
Right.
And like walks off. That was the guy that he did it to. And the guy's like telling the story. He's like, and then like Simmons like looks at me and he's like, hey, make sure you get this. And he's like, okay. So he's like grabbing his camera and like setting it up. And he's like filming him and he just dunks the basketball and like looks at the guy, like walks off. And like, he's like, everybody just like looked around and was like, started dying laughing. He was like, is this serious? I mean, is this guy for real? And I mean, to look up and see that Simmons has ultimately, I mean, did he quit on his team? I guess he quit on his team. I mean, there was an expectation. Yeah, right. Can you quit without ever starting? But I guess he was the one that placed the expectation on that he was coming back. Like, he could have easily – you don't have to even put this out here.
Right.
Like, you don't even have to say, I'm coming back in Game 4. If you were intent on coming back on Game 4, well, then just come back in Game 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't put it out there that you might not because, I mean, bro, you're going to get crushed for this. I mean, showing up in the lambskin shorts to the game. I mean, showing up looking like he looks like who's our guy, the old show dude that he used to dress up like a fool. Not the Patty G show. What's the show? Patty G's Baton Rouge. What's the guy that was on HBO, dude? He would dress up in like the highlighter yellow stuff with the big glasses, and he would go interview the politicians.
Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, Sacha Baron Cohen as but the show was
Ali G.
The Ali G show,
Ali G.
not the Patty G show. The Ali G show. I was thinking like, dude, I'm right there. I'm in it. Ali G show, dude. I was saying when he look at this guy. Like, you want me to take you? Look, dude, you are
a clown.
A clown. You are the butt of so many jokes, and the fact that there's nobody on your inner circle that's like, dude, don't even tell him that you're coming back on Game 4. Don't even do that. Your reputation right now is dog shit. Like, I mean, like, people are. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, the rant that I mean, that'll live forever.
It should.
That will live forever in what he put down yesterday.
I mean, because at this point, it's laughable that you just can't. He has
zero self-awareness.
Complete. I mean, you wake up this morning and you're supposed to play tomorrow, and you wake up and say, "Oh, my back hurts. I can't." Like, I mean, it's so juvenile.
That's my question. Why? Did his back actually hurt, or do you think he's legitimately woke up like, I don't want to play today?
He's scared of the pressure.
He's scared of the moment.
Yeah.
I think he looks at this moment and he's like, well, first off, this is a recipe for disaster for him if he was going to play.
Yeah.
You haven't played in a year, nearly a year, and you're going to step back onto the stage on this stage with this intensity, and you're going to be asked to guard Jason Tatum?
Right.
Like, you really want to do this? Like, somebody should tell him, like, okay, like, if you want to do this and you succeed, you could probably flip the narrative on who you are. But if you come out here and start grabbing your back and moaning and complaining and not playing, dude, this is going to be a top spin for you that is you're not going to be able to regain control of this thing. And, I mean...
Well, isn't this kind of the same feeling right now then?
Dude, he's got everything that Stephen A. Smith said yesterday I agree with. And I don't really, I don't vibe with those loud and takes. But, I mean, like, everything he said, I mean... Rich Paul at Clutch Sports has to be thinking, I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. You know what I mean? Like, everything he's saying about my client, he's dead on. And anybody that can't spin that inside of the back office, I know he's still due, like, what, $120 million? Over
so
3 years, bro?
Stupid.
I mean, like, this guy is
and he's still fighting for 20.
And he's fighting for 20 that he doesn't deserve.
Right.
Dude.
They said this will be like a landmark case for how the NBA handles mental health.
Absolutely.
And it's Ben Simmons.
Absolutely.
Like, well, I don't even know if it's true or not.
I mean, LSU has been at the forefront of the way that contracts have changed in major sports like the NFL with Jamarcus. Mm-hmm. The Jamarcus contract in the NFL was kind of like the breaking point. They were like, enough of this.
40 guaranteed.
This guy's sleeping through meetings. He doesn't even know it's on videotape that we're sending home, and he's got a guaranteed $32 million. He's making more than the starting all-pro quarterback. Like, this isn't happening anymore.
Yeah, for his talent contest, we were supposed to embarrass people. All Jamarcus did was make it rain. He's like, we got a problem here.
Right.
Just dumped a fat sack of cash on everybody and said, peace.
And then Ben Simmons is just, essentially, he's quit on it.
Yeah,
He just
completely.
quit. He just quit on basketball.
Then stop taking up a roster spot.
Absolutely.
Give somebody else an opportunity.
No doubt about it.
There's a lot of Jose's out there that would kill the play.
You're wasting it.
It's just...
But if he played, aren't they only? They're only looking for him to play defense. He doesn't even have to. He can
Yes.
go to his
I
offensive
think he's
hole.
so mind-fucked from the last year. Like
he's-
the last time we saw him.
Well, the last time we saw him was the playoffs and
Right.
elimination
And I think
game.
that was the dunk that he was
Right.
telling the guy, like,
Right.
get this?
Yeah.
You know, you're like, Ben,
I can do it.
No! Stop! Like, don't do this, man. You're giving these people free content.
It's the Kardashians, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Kardashian
That's
curse.
curse.
Y'all, what happened to the
Has Booker broke the curse?
Booker kind of broke the curse,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
mean,
still
yeah.
it's still there.
MVP season, but I
No
mean,
championship.
Yeah, Booker had to do a seance with his teammates with one girl in a hotel room, and that's what broke the curse.
Tiny box.
Tiny box. They all got slapped together.
Fill me in, dude. I don't, I'm about to
This
be-
was during the ball sack sports here. No,
this
they
is
were
real.
ball sack
Yeah,
sports.
right, what happened?
This was during the pandemic with the Bubbles finals or whatever.
Uh-huh.
When the Suns were in it, they had I think OnlyFans, and that's a
Sure.
thought.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
and she
in-
went on the.
Yeah, she
went on
sucked
the
them all in a
podcast.
line, yeah.
And this was Booker?
D-Book was first in line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is
Wait, are you? That's
is
for
this-
real?
100%
This is for real.
true.
She went on
Pre
a
or post
podcast
Kardashian?
and told her
I think
told
it's
the whole
post,
story.
and this is
Okay.
what got
Okay, so a
loosened
little
back
street
up.
cred.
Yeah.
A little street cred.
Come on, boys. Come on.
Jeez.
Literally.
Oh my God.
Talk about team building.
Room 311.
That is team building.
Right up here.
What happened to the girls that dance at the Pelicans games? What happened to those girls?
I have no
like
idea.
the cheerleader type girls. They're gone. You remember them?
No, I know what you're talking about.
They're not there anymore. They don't cheer. They don't do anything. There's nobody there. There's a hype team,
Yeah.
which I've decided I could try out and make the Pelicans hype team.
Do
I
it.
really
Wait,
want
is
to.
it the
You should.
the
All
six
they do-
Can you
stompers?
please?
We need promotion
No,
on the
all
show,
they
for
do,
God's
y'all,
sakes.
is like hold up the defense sign. You know, they gritty like with the defense signs down the way, and like go out there in the
You should do it.
halftime and do a dance that I could 100% do. Like I want to be a Pelican.
We'd
hype
love to
person.
see you do it.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm
I'd
dying
like
to do
to triple or nothing our bet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
like,
I will
can
take
try out?
away. Yeah, absolutely.
At my age, though, like I don't know. Like
Sure.
there's an age
Absolutely.
limit.
Hey, they're not.
They don't discriminate.
Ageism,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I want to do it. I want to be a Pelican type person.
You know what? We're in.
We can-
Show will back.
I can't bet on that though because I don't know if I would be.
No, if
I
you
could
lose the
do
bet,
it.
you have to go to the tryout.
I want to try. I'm telling you, I want to be a Pelican type person though. This isn't like a losing thing for me. Like, get me on the Pelicans hype team.
I didn't know that they didn't have cheerleaders anymore.
No,
either.
it's just a random group of people
Is this
that
confirmed, or you just kind of recognized?
they were nowhere to be seen.
Really?
Yes, they were nowhere to be seen. And so I thought, like at the half, I thought that like they were going to do a
I wonder
dance.
if Gail said, "Get them out of here."
I don't know. People were like, you know, down the court, like ready to pop up and do their dance, and it was just a random group of people. It could have been us.
Was it? It wasn't the 6'10" Stompers, was it?
No.
Those old
No.
white
Telling
guys.
you, they were
yeah.
called
You
the
would know.
Pelican hype team.
Do you think that maybe it was, what were they, 1-12 to start, 3-15? That Gail was like, we got to start cutting some costs around here.
Maybe so. They put the camera on her a couple of times sitting up
Hell
in her
yeah.
box.
Toast of the town.
She was just nodding her head while everybody screamed and cheered and chanted her name. She was just like
Drinking her
nodding
wine?
like a queen. Like
Drinking her
from
wine?
there. Yes.
We went to a. We were at the Tulane. We were at Ullman Stadium for. Ullman's the football stadium, right? Yeah. It was the state championships. It was Catholic High versus Jesuit at Tulane Stadium, and that she's got her own personal box. It's like the Benson box, and she was like sitting like right in eyes view of us, and just crushing wine.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Diamonds sparkling off the
Yes.
lights.
In the winter, she has a fur on, like
Living
inside.
the great life. I mean, dude, if you
I
go
would.
down to absolutely, if you go down to New Orleans on a Sunday morning, her Maybach is parallel parked. I mean, like behind the cathedral, St.
Oh,
Louis
yeah, yeah.
Cathedral, from 8 in the morning until noon, and she reads at the mass at 9 and 11 every Sunday morning.
Really?
Every Sunday morning.
Wow.
Gail Benson. I mean, Lil Jay was like, "Dad, She looks familiar. I was like, she owns the Saints.
That's Mother Mary.
Exactly.
That's Mama Gail. I mean, but she lives a great life, bro.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Jeez,
She
I
gets
know,
a lot of credit for what as she should. And if you want to crucify David Griffin for all he's done, you have to give him some flowers too for the way he's built this team and the roster
he saved his
management.
job.
Yeah,
The Undertaker.
He's completely saved
The
his job.
Undertaker.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he has saved his life. He was dead man walking going into the season. He was
He
dead.
hired Stan Van Gundy.
Yeah, hired Stan, drafted Herb and Jose. I
Right.
mean, like,
He
what are you
flipped the
gonna
script.
you counting on these guys?
Right.
Next thing you know, Herb and
Yeah, I
Jose
am.
are, I mean, like, they're shutting down Chris Paul. I mean, what an
Traded
incredible
Eric
ride.
Bledsoe and Steven Adams
Yeah,
for
got rid of
Jonas
those
Valanciunas.
contracts. Got rid of his contracts, man. David Griffin has made some. He's made some incredible moves over the last year, and for as much as we dumped on him, he does deserve a ton of credit.
We did.
A ton of credit. What about this Twitter story? Why do you not like it?
Who, Elon Musk?
No, I mean, I know you don't like him, but why do you not like the story?
Oh, I just said I don't like Elon Musk.
Oh, okay.
No, I just think he's
Why don't you
buying-
like Elon Musk?
I just don't. I really don't want to get into that on this show. It's not. Lots of reasons I won't
Okay.
get into it, but I know I'm not a fan of him buying Twitter.
I don't like his kid's name.
What's his kid's name?
It's like
What's like a math equation?
it's like a bunch of numbers and
Yeah,
What a
cosine
nerd.
and
No,
sine.
it looks
What
like
a nerd.
it looks like pie.
Yeah, it looks like a test question I'd skip.
It looks like pie
Who had a
day.
kid with him?
Oh, she's weird too. She's
Amber
like-
Heard.
Yeah, oh God, poor Johnny Depp.
Poor Johnny Depp.
This
Honestly,
Pooping.
Lord.
Did she really shit in his bed?
Shit in his bed.
she's crazy.
She should get to know
Security
Jerry
guard-
West.
Security guard took a picture of it.
Is she from Boston?
Jerry West.
That picture of that poop on that episode too was so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
It was.
Swirl.
It was real.
They didn't. Dude, that's pretty messed up. Russell.
Like Elon Musk did date Amber Heard.
Did they? They
What?
dated?
Yeah,
Amber
he
Heard
dated
stuff?
Amber Heard too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But his new girlfriend does look
Grimes is her name.
Yeah, she's an
it's the
alternative
emo, huh?
girl. Yes.
Yeah.
weird. Alternative, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Emo girl.
gothic.
Alternative. Who just said alternative?
Me.
Like an 8-year-old.
Looks very dark
Very
to me.
alternative.
She
isn't
is alternative.
All right. Have a great day.
It's like a
Hit that
fucking
like.
freak, okay?
Or are y'all going to talk about the story or no?
I mean, he's buying
That
Twitter.
was
They're
it?
accepting the deal. I mean, last week I think that they.
How much did it go for?
46 billion.
Stupid.
And Twitter's free?
Huh? Yeah. I know. I don't get it.
It won't be for long.
Yeah, oh. That prick. Edit
46
button?
billion. Edit button.
What else can you really do with Twitter?
So all we wanted was an edit button. There will be no edit
So
button.
Katie can fix her Tyrann Matthew tweet.
Lots of tweets.
The Mississippi State
I
tweet.
hate Twitter. I just don't want it to go.
LSU
Let him run into
guarantees
the ground
victory.
and be done.
Nobody uses Twitter anyway, Mom.
I know, right? It's so old. Or so old on Twitter.
Nerd.
She's not wrong.
Buy Roblox. Saint!
Have a great day. Hit that like and share button. Don't forget at 11 a.m. Huge show for Mic'd Up. Jay Johnson, 11
Huge.
a.m. And then Jack Besh at noon. Besh will be
Shirtless.
talking about, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll be talking about his spring performance and then going into the off season. As that'll be at 11 o'clock this morning. Make sure that you are subscribed to Mic'd Up's YouTube page to keep up with Mikey Matuk's show coming up at 11 a.m. this morning. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. as we will be here, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Have a great day. Hit that like and share button before we get out of here.
We said something wrong.
Oh, there's the cams.
The hot girl chat's back.
Talk about the boxes.
Yeah, it's probably the Devin Booker. He's got plenty of time for it now.